You know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports. When
It comes to Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
I need to talk a little sports with you, Ags. David Nuño here with TexAgs Radio. Billy Lucci here on TexAgs Radio. Olin Buchanan.
We will develop men, we will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
The best way for us to win is to do it together.
Do you realize everybody knows who you are right now?
Very thankful for 12th man. They've won us games.
Been in college baseball for a while now, but I've never experienced anything like 12th man.
That's about as pretty a throw-catch combo as there is.
I saw the safety roll, the slot fade. I knew where I needed to put the ball.
Our skill set worked great together. Like, he was more speed and I was more power, and then we put together, it was like thunder and lightning, you know.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
All right, Obi, can we go digging? I want to go deep. I want to dig deep.
Let's dig deep.
All right, it's TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio, The Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. He's Olin Buchanan. I'm David Nuño. Today is Wednesday, July the 24th, 2024. All right, a week from today, what are we doing? This is not the digging part. I'm just...
A week from today, I think...
practice.
Does practice not start?
Yeah, starts a week from today, right? So I want to open up the show with, let's dig a little bit, because I want us to go beyond surface level questions about A&M. Okay. Because what are the big three question marks about A&M this year? I'm sure you can tell me your three, which will probably be similar to my three.
Yeah, offensive line.
Yes. Yes.
Receiver.
Yes.
And the third question is Mike Elko, I guess. I don't know, new coaches.
Secondary, I still think is a question.
Oh, see, I feel good about it. Okay.
I feel good, but it's a question, right?
Okay.
But let's go deeper.
Let's dig deep.
If we're going to go deep, and by the way, you can participate in this game, what questions do you have beyond the obvious, all right? Let's go beyond those three obvious ones, 979-693-1150. If you call, we'll pick it up on the Boss Firearms hotline. We'll discuss it with you. Deeper than that, I'm going to give you three that I came up with this morning as I was thinking about this question, and I hope you either have the same or different, which means I just hope you participate in the game.
Okay.
All right.
I can dig it.
Running back room.
Running back room.
Nobody rushed for over 600 yards last year because you had a running back by committee, which is okay. I'm okay with running back by committee. But is someone going to be the alpha dog, give me 1,500 yards rushing, 1,200 yards rushing? And I think I brought this up the other day. Similar to what we saw with Isaiah Spiller and Devon Achane, where you have a 1A, 1B option, but it is the bulk of your offense.
Yeah, that would be what you'd want.
You know who led the team in rushing last year?
You just want the 1A and the 1B to be
really good.
I think Le'Veon Moss led the team in rushing.
Amari Daniels.
Did Amari? Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't realize. I think if you
Which caught me by surprise when I looked at it this morning.
Personally, I think the running back by committee approach is typically the good teams. If you have running back committee, that means like where you're going. That means somebody's over 1,000 yards.
Correct.
But somebody else is contributing
700, 800.
Maybe even less than that, 500, 400. But, it gives that number one guy a chance to
breathe.
I don't see it work beyond two guys very often. Sometimes, I remember way back in the day, it all started with Virginia Tech and Lee Suggs and I can't think of the other guy. But that's when or actually it probably started with SMU.
So
with Craig James and Eric Dickerson.
I'm fine with 3 running backs. I'm fine with 4 running backs. But where one guy, okay, the defense has. Remember when Devon would come on the field? You had to account for him no matter what.
Yeah, I remember.
Except on the last play against Alabama a couple years ago.
Coach didn't remember, but
right.
I remembered.
But and I think Ruben Owens can be that guy. I think Le'Veon Moss can be that guy. I know that Amari Daniels had the longest run out of all of them.
Yeah, he had 75, 80 yards running against Auburn there at the end, which is probably why he led the team in rushing.
Yeah, I think he was 610 yards, and then the other guys were right there in the mix. They were all close, right? But 1 or 2-ish, again, I go back to the Spiller Achane era, which, I think Achane in 21 passed Spiller. but Spiller was still your guy for most of the season.
Yep, he was.
So that's
yes, he was.
That's one of the questions I have. Like, what's this running back room? How are they going to grow? How's Reuben Owens going to take it to another level? Is Le'Veon Moss going to be that guy that we thought when he came? Which he was good.
Yeah,
I want him to be great.
I kind of think Le'Veon is the guy we thought he'd be. Runs hard. He can pick up the short yardage. Has the ability to break something open. I saw flashes from Reuben of what we all think he can be.
Mm-hmm.
I can remember him catching a swing pass, and it might have been against Auburn, and just stepping out of a tackle. The guy's all over him, and he just steps out of the tackle, and he had this ability to make big plays. I think Le'Veon Moss can make big plays as well, but I think Reuben Owens can make them in volume.
Okay, so that's one of my questions. Another question: the tight end team, the group, right?
Mm-hmm.
No one that is currently on the roster caught a pass for A&M last year.
Mm-hmm.
So, as excited as I am for some of these new additions, Trey Watson and Garrett Miller, I haven't seen them in this offense. Donovan Green was hurt last year, right? Jake Johnson is no longer here. So there are questions there because I know that Colin Klein likes to utilize the tight end group. Donovan Green, do we get what we saw his freshman year, which was very nice potential, right? We saw very nice potential. But what does that group look like with a new collection of talent? Theo hasn't even played, right? We're still waiting for Theo to catch a pass. So there's a lot of question marks there, and I'm high on Trey Watson.
Okay.
From all things that I've seen on YouTube and reading about him, I'm high on him. But we haven't seen that group maximized in a couple of years.
Well, I think what I saw from Donovan Green 2 years ago, does he need to get better on blocking? Yeah, but as a receiver, I'm sold. And what Donovan Green had that Jake Johnson didn't is he has acceleration.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't take him a while to get everything going forward to gain speed. He can take the ball, catch it, and he's moving at a high speed right away. And I can still remember him making a catch against Arkansas where he just took it right off the top of the turf.
Yeah.
So I'm already sold on Donovan Green. And if he's healthy, which he is, you got a really good productive tight end.
Another guy that I didn't mention that's no longer here, who was very productive for Texas A&M, Max Wright. He was very productive.
Yes, he was.
So
better hands than I thought he had.
So we have not been able to see with our eyeballs what this tight end group will look like because it's been forever since Donovan Green.
It's been a year.
Yeah, it's been a year. It feels like
a lot of guys get hurt and come back
of course,
and play
but
well.
I have faith in him, but we need to see this group and we need to see him take a big step. And I think we will. I think Donovan Green is a special talent and the new additions as well. The third question, next level question, which they've already fixed part of the problem. Special teams.
How about by addressing the problem?
By addressing
right?
hey, we don't have a parent in the house. We're letting the kids do whatever they want. No, let's have a coach dedicated half his time to that, and that's what they have. So special teams coordinator, Tyler White, what's he going to be like? What's Randy Bond going to be like? What is this group going to look like?
Well, first of all, I think you're not supposed to say this because he's a nice kid and everything, but I thought as a punter that Nick Constantino struggled to be average the last couple of years.
His first year, really good.
First year's really good, and I don't know what happened, but below average. So there's every reason to think they'll be better in the punting game, and if your punter's better, then you probably have better coverage. The kickoff return coverage has to be better. Can't get much worse, but you got to be good at it, not just better. When you're terrible, better doesn't necessarily mean you're good. And Randy Bond's got to be better. If Randy Bond can't be more reliable, you got to find another kicker because so many games come down to missed opportunities. Now, not all of his misses were on him because why? The protection was awful.
Yeah,
had 3 field goals blocked in one season. That's insane. So the fact that Elko came and look, and it seems to me a lot of bad teams are really bad on special teams. I've said this before. I think that's a indicator of a disorganized coaching staff is bad special teams.
Yeah.
And I applaud Mike Elko. We'll see how it works out, but I applaud him that he addressed that and brought in someone to coach special teams, to coordinate special teams.
Yeah, and in special teams, can we stop guys from running in touchdowns? That'd be nice. Now, it's been a couple years since the South Carolina game, but I just still go right back to it because
Miami last year.
Thank you for reminding me
gave
of
up
Miami.
a punt return for a touchdown against Tennessee. Did Mississippi State have a kickoff return for a touchdown last year?
I don't think I don't remember that. You might be right.
Mississippi State took back the opening kickoff.
Yeah,
that's
here
what
at
it
Kyle
was.
Field.
That's what I'm saying. How bad is your maybe find a kicker that can kick it into the end zone.
That'd be nice.
There's all kinds of issues they had with special teams, and it hurt the team. Good special teams, you might have wanted an extra game or two.
Yeah.
Remember, I think you missed a chance to score when you had the field goal blocked against
Ole Miss.
Against Alabama.
Alabama.
There's just so many times the special teams let you down last year.
So to me, those are like the questions beyond the questions that we talk about, because we do talk about offensive line, we do talk about secondary, we talk about wide receiver, right? Those are the glaring
issues. Yes,
but special teams is a glaring issue that I don't know if it's spent enough time on it, and I don't know how you spend time on it. Like, fix it. That's how you just fix it.
Well, again, the first step toward fixing it is bring in some guy to fix it. What's the special teams coordinator's name? I already forgot.
The tight ends coach.
I've already forgotten his name. I'm sorry, I can't think of his name. But he's the wolf. He's the guy you want to be the wolf. Call him up and, hey, he's the fixer. Let's get things taken care of.
Well, I think it's a good time to remind everybody who all the coaches are here, because there is the special teams coordinator is Patrick Doherty. By the way.
That's right. Right.
All right, so let me give you the names. If you didn't know, Mike Elko.
Mike Elko's the head coach. I knew that one.
Associate head coach and running backs coach, Trooper Taylor. Knew that guy. From Cuero, Texas. He's a gobbler. So this is just Aggie 101 for those who don't remember all the names.
Well, when there's so many new coaches.
There are. The whole staff, basically. Jay Bateman is your defensive coordinator and your linebackers coach.
Right.
Your offensive coordinator is?
Colin Klein.
You know that
one. That one.
Your co-defensive coordinator, defensive backs coach is Jordan Peterson.
Oh, yeah, the former A&M cornerback.
Canadian political talk show host?
No,
different guy.
A&M
right?
cornerback. Did a great job at Kansas.
Holman Wiggins.
Receivers coach.
Co-offensive coordinator, wide receivers coach. Your defensive backs coach, Ish. How do you say his last name? I know he was here before. Ish Aristide, I believe it is.
Aristide, yeah.
Your running back and offensive line coach is running game coordinator, offensive line coach is Adam Cushing.
Adam Cushing, yes.
Your special teams coordinator, Patrick Doherty.
Patrick Doherty.
Your defensive line,
Coach Chaos.
Well, there's a couple. You got Sean Spencer and Tony Girardetti, right?
Yes.
Your grad assistant, Malik Davis, Trey Odom, Gavin Spurrier. Hey, Isaiah Washington, BGA is there, who's been huge. Joey Lynch, Stan Watson. So a bunch of analysts helping out. So that's kind of just a reminder of all our coaches at A&M.
And you needed a new offensive coordinator. You needed a new defense coordinator. You needed a new receivers coach. You needed a new offensive line coach. You needed a new secondary coach. Maybe he's going to coach them to look for the ball.
Yep.
And you needed a special teams coach.
Yeah.
So once again, Elko came in there and addressed things that needed to be addressed.
Another thing that I find interesting, I've talked to a lot of people recently, and look, there are some that are high, and others say they're high. Look, if you go 8-4, that's a really good year. Am I wrong? I don't think 8-4 is
no.
It depends how you get to 8-4. Yes, everything is dependent on. But in July, I'm not happy about 8-4.
8-4 is an acceptable year in the first year of a head coach.
100%.
Acceptable. Not good. It's acceptable.
You get it.
Now, if you're at Vanderbilt, 8-4 is a good year.
You throw a party.
Right. But who do you want? Yeah, who do you want to invite to your party? Do you want to be inviting Arkansas and Vanderbilt and Mississippi State? And I
want a Georgia type party.
Rub elbow, or do you want to be
I want a national championship, obviously, but I'll take Mark Richt level Georgia and be so happy.
You'll be happy for a year or two.
I'll be happy for 3 years.
Just like Georgia was.
Yeah, I get it. Everything is relative, right? Like, hey, you've been it's like Ohio State. You guys are really good, but you just can't beat Michigan. You win 10 and 11 games, but you can't get to...
I want to beat Michigan.
You want to be Michigan?
Yeah, because they won the national championship. And they went through a period, of course. Remember, they were going to fire that coach, and they even docked it. They even cut his salary.
Coach
and then he
Harbaugh,
comes back
right.
and wins the national championship. Had a chance to win 2, but he won a national championship. And then he said,
"Bye,
see ya.
I'm going to go win in the NFL."
Yeah, but I wonder if they hadn't treated him like that before.
If he
would have been interested in staying.
I think I don't know.
He might have been wanting to go to the NFL, but I mean,
let's not forget he coached in a Super Bowl.
Do people forget though when someone does you wrong? Do you ever really forget it?
Never. I don't. I make a list.
Yeah.
I don't even need a list. The list is written in my brain.
It's in your brain, right?
Yeah. I remember.
Uh-huh.
I remember everything kids said to me when I was a child,
Yeah.
and I run into them. I'll bump their shoulders in the hallway. I don't care.
Yeah.
That's how I roll.
I got a list of people that just wait.
Who in this building is on your list?
I'm sorry, what?
Who in this building is on your list?
Oh, everybody. Callie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when she called me old.
That's not your name? Oldham?
Oldland.
Oldham.
I was just confused. I know now.
All right. So what are the next level questions you all have? I see some people texting in already. 979-693-1150. You can call on the Boss Firearms hotline. And do you agree with our list, my list? Did you have any other ones you wanted to add to it?
No, yeah, I've said before, I believe beyond offensive line and receiver, I'm good. I feel like you can win. I feel like you can win with every position group.
By the way,
those two.
I was preparing. We have a great show today. Can I just give the people the rundown on the program? So we'll have Marty Smith, who's one of the nicest human beings in the world. 9 o'clock.
Outstanding reporter.
You'll listen to him.
Yeah.
Trevor Knight joining us.
One of my favorite guys.
We love Trevor Knight.
Good teeth.
Jason Howell. Good head of hair.
His head of hair is deception.
Quality beard.
Quality beard.
That beard right there. That's like
quality beard.
George Zimmerman
Probably
beard.
the best thing to come out of Arkansas since Johnny Cash.
He's better. Have you seen this guy at the pool party? He's wearing Bahamas.
I didn't say he wasn't as. I'm just saying the best thing to come out of Arkansas since Johnny Cash, Jason Howell.
And Phil Steele. Best guy to come off the phone since the last phone call.
Phil Steele, I like his magazine.
It's good.
I do.
It's one of the few magazines that I think people still read because I think most people get their info online. He's a magazine that people are like, let me look.
I like having
this.
it.
Yeah. So that's on the program. Because I was preparing for the Phil Steele interview, and he talked to Coach Elko a while back. I'm trying to see where the quote is. This is what Coach Elko told Phil Steele. We're not one of the top offensive lines in the SEC, but we're one of the most improved.
Okay.
So, please, what is that? So,
I hope that
that means top 8 improved, top 5.
I'm hoping that in Mike Elko's mind, when he says not one of the top, well, those that he thinks are among the top are 2 or 3. So
right. So if we're in 4 or 5,
I can live with that. Heck yeah.
What's the cutoff?
I don't know.
If we made a number, all right, if we're in the top 9.
When I say among the top, typically I mean in top 3.
But if A&M's offensive line is in the top 9,
I think it's got to be
number 9. Is that bad?
Body number 9.
No, not 9.
No. I think
7. I'm just saying, at what point you're like, all right, I think we're gonna be pretty good. If I say you're the 7th best offensive line in the SEC,
I want to be better than that because there's 16 teams, right?
Yeah.
So if you're 8, you're mediocre. You're right in the middle.
People are predicting A&M to be 9th in the SEC. That's the prediction.
Right. And I don't, and you have to make predictions. You have to put them somewhere. But we're just talking about offensive line. I would say get me to where you could be 6th on the list.
If you're 6, you're like, all right, I think we're going to be pretty good.
At least 6th on the list.
Okay. What questions do you have? 979-693-1150.
List.
Let's go around the room and say hi to the people. We go behind the glass and beyond the glass. That's where we find Nick Savage. Nick, good morning.
Howdy, good morning, y'all.
Hey, buddy.
My biggest question, I guess that's, not the biggest question, and I know Carson Stein sitting next to me would agree. Are we going to see some alternate uniforms? I mean, let's whip out.
Excuse me?
OB. Hold on. Let me finish. Whoa, now. Hey, now, David. That was a good one. Let's whip out some black uniforms. Let's whip out some white uniforms. Let's mix up the
Well, no,
combinations.
we're white
Why
on
not?
the road.
Yeah.
You know what I have?
All white on the
I have a
road.
problem with the black uniforms. I remember when someone was saying, "Hey, we're going to wear black uniforms, get the guys motivated." That's what it takes. A&M's colors are maroon and white. Therefore, that's the color you should wear in the game, maroon and white.
But you can put maroon on a black uniform.
Okay.
But hey, hold on. We're AARP. They're young. They have different things that motivate them. What motivates an old man does not motivate an 18 to 22-year-old.
I don't know what motivates a lot of young guys. Still motivate me. You know.
Well, this is true.
I would say
like a good pair of sneakers.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In fact, I got blisters on my feet right now. Well, I got blisters.
Bro.
I got blisters. So for my new shoes. But so yeah, I've been motivated by a pair of shoes. But the point is, A&M's colors are maroon and white.
Yeah.
That's the color you should go out there.
Hey, you make a lot of money with these alternate uniforms. In all worlds, soccer especially, like they make this and they sell out like hotcakes. Do people buy hotcakes?
But they're cheap, so
yeah. So there's an advantage to doing these uniforms, and fans get up for them. Except if you're 60 plus.
What's your color? What's your color, A&M? What's their color?
Maroon and white, baby. But you can have an alternate, like a secondary.
I'm not much for alternate uniforms.
On the right side?
Lifestyles, anything. Yeah. It's not to me. I'm pretty traditional.
Okay. Nick, anything else, buddy? All right, thank you. Appreciate you. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Way late. Louie, I'm sorry. We're just having fun here. Callie Garner's there. Callie, ¿cómo estás, Calita?
Good morning. How's it going?
I'm good. Do you hate when I call you Calita?
No, I don't. It takes me back to my South Texas roots that I don't really have, but my dad has them, so.
It makes me feel like this won't hit with you, OB, but like my mom, ay, Davidcito. She doesn't call me David, and I'm adding that to Callie. So I'm an old Latina lady.
You don't think I hear stuff like that?
Oh yeah, you definitely do. What is Olanito? What do they call you?
Oh no, she's to Quinn. You know, she would call him Popecito and stuff like that. And then with me, it's just
Obito.
It's more like obeso.
Obesity?
Obeso.
Callie, please.
So we're actually, I don't know if we touched on this. We're actually on a 2-year streak of having teams run back the opening kickoff against us. Mm-hmm. South Carolina did it to us in 2022.
For the opening kickoff.
Yeah, and then Mississippi State did it.
Hey, let me throw in one more.
And Miami last year.
Yeah. And
let me throw in one more. Not that it's the same thing, but special teams. Am I right? Mississippi State in 21 blocked a field goal and scored a touchdown going into the half? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's been disastrous.
Now, look, on that one, the guy was way off sides, but
matter.
It's still there.
For the commentary, it still happens.
Yes.
If it counts, it counts.
Yeah. Your special teams are...
They're special.
We're terrible.
Can only go up. We got a few things this morning. We had 6 members of the Texas A&M women's tennis team earned the Intercollegiate Tennis Association Scholar Athlete Distinction, and the whole team earned the ITA All Academic Honors, and they had a cumulative GPA of 3.37 this past year. And the women's golf team announced their 2024-2025 slate yesterday. They will open their season for the 3rd straight year at the Carmel Cup at Pebble Beach over the August 30th weekend, and they finished runner-up and 3rd of the past 2 seasons at the Carmel Cup. They have a full schedule with lots of travel, and the postseason return starts in Florida for the SEC Championship, and they won it in 23 and finished runner-up last year. And also, we've got a new addition to our 24 men's basketball roster, which I know we will touch on in a little bit. But his name is Janusz Rotowski from Poland, and he averaged 9.6 points per game and 9.4 rebounds per game last year.
Great stuff, Galita. I'm going to read this text from Jason Rollo, who's listening to the show. Shout out to Rollo and Churches.
We're having a Jason fest this morning.
It is.
But go on.
Tell Olin, I fully agree with him. A&M's maroon and white, not black. Alternate uniforms are fine, but it should be maroon and white. And then he drops this one, because I'm all in on this one. Maybe camo. Come on.
Only on certain days.
Maroon and white camo?
Maroon and white? It's still maroon and white.
Camo would be worse than black. Unless, no, I'm out on
What about what Aggie baseball does? It's fine.
Jason Rollo said it. Mike dropped.
You're going to argue with the Rollo Insurance?
No.
Sounds like you are.
53 offices in the state of Texas.
I agree with what you said, too. You can wear alternate uniform, just make them maroon and white. That's fine with me.
Yeah, nobody's saying lime green.
Wear the white helmets.
All
Bring
I
them
said
back.
was their colors are maroon and white. I didn't say they had to have the same absolute uniforms every time. Saying
we are legit.
We're late.
So late, like pregnancy late. That's how late we are.
Like Lucci showing up when he's later than he's supposed to, right?
See, I'm not gonna go there.
I will, Billy. I know you're listening too.
He's not listening yet. He listens on delay.
Because he's late.
Oh, I'm sorry, guys. It's July. Sorry. All right, looking for a reason to come back to Aggie Land, or if you're already in Aggie Land and looking for a great job, you know what you need to do? Callie, where do they need to get a job? Where?
The Association of Former Students.
Thank you very much for participating in this conversation. The Association of Former Students is seeking to hire professionals to join teams. They've got openings, I assume, in many different areas, but I'm just going to tell you, fundraising is what I hear. I hear marketing. I hear a lot more, right? So they're the premier alumni association and the oldest organization serving A&M in support of that Aggie network, and they play a part in every Aggie story from Howdy to here. So don't miss out opportunities to help out with Howdy socials, Aggie Rain Day, class reunions, Aggie muster, and everything in between. Join a team that exemplifies Aggie core values: excellence, integrity, leadership, loyalty, respect, and selfless service, all in support of that worldwide network. If you're interested in joining the team or sharing with someone who would be a great fit, please visit tx.ag/association jobs to apply and get more information on each position. It is the Association of Former Students. Is my mic on? There we go. I remember during baseball season, especially to the College World Series, we had a young audience listening. Okay? There was like 18, 20, like college kids. Today, everyone's 86. Because I'm going to go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center and read some of these text messages because everybody's on Team OB when it comes to. Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, TexAgs kids, we're a good show. It's not like your old school AM radio. We're interactive. We're fun. We're TikTok-y. OB's got a great TikTok channel. Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Callie, sorry for snapping.
It's okay. We have Edward in Austin says, wins are more important than alternate jerseys. Hank in College Station says, yes, OB, the maroon and white, and those of us who bleed maroon think that. We do have one that says the reason the University of Oregon is actually popular is because they have the coolest uniforms.
Because they started, though. They were the first ones to
pioneers.
They also bring up the Texans doing the battle red. And I think part of it, maybe, and this might just be me, I think if you have two colors that are legit colors and you can add in black and white, then it is easier to do an alternate. I think when white is one of your like two main colors, I think it's harder to do an alternate, but maybe that's just me.
But isn't red like one of the Texans' colors anyway?
Yeah.
So they're not really changing their...
So when I think of alternate uniforms, I don't necessarily think it has to be like a weird color. See what I'm saying? Like,
but he was... Okay.
But it could be just a different look.
Okay. Well, A&M used to change its uniforms pretty regularly. One year you would have the two stripes down on the shoulder pad, and the next year might have a 12th man thing, or some other kind of logo on it. So A&M's been known to change their uniforms. I'm just saying I'm against changing the color.
What about baseball?
What was when Billy Lucci, the genesis of TexAgs, was his newsletter? What was that called?
The Maroon and White Report.
Oh, was there a black and the Maroon and White and Black alternate report? I don't think so.
You're getting worked up. Let me ask you a question. Are you okay with baseball doing different colors?
I'm okay, like if you're going to have a day in which you're honoring America or your veterans, and in that instance,
it's okay.
Because we're talking about a greater thing here. We're talking about America. America. So if you want to, specify one day because like it's a day to honor veterans. Okay. All right. I'm not.
You're good with that, right?
But
if we
just because you say, hey man, I'm going to make our guys play harder, so I'm going to come up with some black uniform. No. A&M's colors are maroon and white.
And black.
Where does it say that?
Oh, just because basketball wears a black uniform sometimes.
I'm not for it.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to come up with a pink because it's
breast cancer,
okay, I'm fine with that.
Yep.
But beyond something that's just a specific event that you're honoring or a group that you're honoring,
this is Nick's fault.
Maroon and white. Isn't everything?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot. I do want to read this message here. Where did it go? Brady says, Nuño, can we get Moffitt on the show sometime? We've had Moffitt on.
Yeah. And he was great.
He was fantastic. I think he's a little busy.
Yeah.
I think he's a little busy at the moment. But yes, I would love to get him back. But I think he's technically working around the clock trying to get that culture established in the weight room. Yeah. It's already established, I should say.
Yeah, I mean,
Keep it going.
You can look at the guys and see his impact is already obvious.
Yeah. All right, we'll hit a break. When we come back, 24 in 24, MJ edition. Number 23.
Number 23.
The greatest basketball player of all time.
Absolutely.
Without a doubt. Not even close. Second place is like 100 miles away.
And who's that? There's an argument for that, too.
There's an argument for that. Adruskas Ilgauskas, number 2. All right, we'll hit a break. We'll come back. Right now, you remember him or no?
Yeah.
Okay. Talking QC Kinetics. If you've got joint pain like OB, if you've got arthritis pain, if you've got any kind of pain in your back, your shoulders, or your hips, he's got it all. You've got to call the good people there at QC Kinetics. They're exciting new cellular therapies that get you lasting relief, and they want to help patients just like you in this area and all around the country, making you feel better. They have advanced regenerative medicine that is cutting edge. These treatments accelerate your body's own healing properties, revitalizing your joints so you can move once again. They've helped out so many people in this area and tens of thousands more across this country. If you've got chronic pain from arthritis or injury, you need to know that steroids and surgery and pain pills are no longer your only options. The local medical professionals at QC Kinetics are ready to help you get your life back. Regenerative restorative cellular treatments are there for your achy joints. The future of medicine is right now. Call up 979-452-6000. QC Kinetics, 979-452-6000. That is 979-452-6000. Is it on your playlist?
No.
You look like an Akon kind of guy.
That's a what?
Akon.
Akon?
Akon. A-K-O-N.
Yes, it sounds like it's probably recorded by Akon. So, hey, those people that want to go with the black uniforms, are they cool with then opening the game with running a Rottweiler out there or a Doberman instead of Reveille?
No, Reveille's ours.
Okay, so that's why
family.
we're going to draw the.
Yeah, we draw the
Draw
line.
the
there.
line.
Yeah, we don't mess with the dog.
Okay.
All right. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio.
The omnipotent Jason Rollo, who knows that Maroon White's the way to go.
This is a Go Hour.
Yes, it is.
Presented by
CC Creations.
See, you're on one today, buddy.
I am. I'm on.
Time for 24.
Didn't even have a monster.
No, it's coming. 20. You'll have a heart attack in studio. 24 and 24. Number 23 brought to you by FBS Appliance. They're committed to delivering an exceptional experience from start to finish. You can trust them to provide unparalleled service and support every step of the way because FBS Appliance is your trusted appliance store. Visit any of their 8 showrooms across Texas or find them online at factorybuilderstores.com. All right. You ready for number 23?
I am.
He is the linebacker who will replace Edgerrin Cooper there on the weak side, Solomon DeShields.
Okay. I hope Solomon DeShields is a player worthy of the number 23 ranking, if not better.
Yep.
Last year at Pitt, he had 58 tackles. Not bad. And if it's my understanding, and I did not cover Pitt, so maybe I'm wrong on this, but it's my understanding that was his first year as a starter.
And he was their best player.
So you can expect more. I always go back to look at Edgerrin Cooper in his first year as a starter compared to his first year or his second year, right? So I can be very optimistic about DeShields. He's a productive guy. Again, 58 tackles, not a huge amount, but it's showing that you're involved. But does anybody have bigger shoes to fill on that defense than Solomon DeShields?
No, but I will say this. The teams that come after you tell me a lot about the quality of player, right? So Florida State went after him.
Okay.
LSU
and they played him. I mean, they're
Yeah.
ACC, so they know what he's about.
LSU wanted him.
Okay, glad.
Michigan wanted him.
There you go.
Colorado Prime wants everybody, right?
Yeah.
Elijah Robinson and Syracuse wanted him.
Okay.
Arizona State wanted him. So some of those programs...
You could have stopped after the first 3. You could have stopped.
No, but Prime does go after the big guys. He does. He goes after them. So that's who wanted him. Also, their offense was atrocious. Was looking at they were 119th in time of possession in the country, which meant the defense was on the field all the time. They were just terrible. So I think coming to a team and he was, if not their best player, one of the best players. Okay. Coming to a team with some loaded defensive line players.
Mm-hmm. He could be even more productive.
With Torian York close to him.
Yeah.
I think he could be huge for A&M this year. Hey, look, I'm not expecting Edge Cooper, but if Torian York takes a big step, and he was great last year, and some of the other names that are on the roster can contribute, Solomon DeShields, if he is that 23rd best player on the team,
yes,
then you got yourself a squad.
You're in great shape. And I believe, not everybody's going to agree with this, but I believe that if you're really good in the defensive line and you're really good in the secondary, you can get by with competent linebackers.
Yep.
Well, I think you have Torian York's obviously more than competent, and what we're seeing from or what we're hearing about Solomon DeShields and looking at his numbers, he's more than competent too. So if Solomon DeShields is number 23, you are at the very worst good at linebacker.
Yep.
Right? And if you put a good set of linebackers between an outstanding defensive line and a good to outstanding secondary, which, of course, I know we differ on where we're at there, then you have an elite defense.
By the way, Nick, can you look up what Edge Cooper came in at last year? I assume before the season he came in the top 10, but I'm just curious what that number was, if you can look that up for 23 and 23 last year. But I'm gonna give you a couple of the names at linebacker just because there's some competition.
Got a lot of them,
right?
yeah.
You've got obviously Damian Sanford, Scooby Williams, who transferred over.
By the way, I'm hearing good things about Damian Sanford.
Edge was 14th last year.
14th, okay.
And he ended up being 2, if not 1.
If not 1.
Probably 1.
At the end of last year, Anais, Edge.
Anais and Edge were 1 and 2, depending on how you want them.
Right. Other linebackers of note, obviously Torian York, Tristan Jernigan, Marshall Harris. So it's a couple names on the roster to Jordan Lockhart to consider, Chance Johnson. But I am super excited about what he brings, considering if he was the alpha on that defense, what he does around this amount of talent.
You know what Edgerrin Cooper did in his first year as a full-time starter?
Which was 21?
2022, I believe.
22, okay.
first year as full-time.
Full-time starter.
61 tackles. And let me look at his sack total. He didn't have any sacks in his first year. In 2022, no sacks, 61 tackles. Well, that's only 3 more than DeShields. Now, the next year, he goes to 84 tackles and 8 sacks. Now, not saying that
different
DeShields
defense
can do that, but the point is, I'm just making he had a good year as a first-year linebacker. What kind of jump can he make in the second year?
Yep.
And it may be significant.
And with the coaching staff.
And like you said, that defensive line in front of it.
The defensive line in front. And again, I think the A&M offense is going to be pretty good. It's going to be better than what he had at Pitt.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
You know.
I mean, as bad as it was last year at times, it was better than what he had at Pitt.
Yeah, Pitt was horrible.
So he doesn't have to play as much.
Pitt was 2022 A&M offense. Because that was like, what was it, 119th in the country that year? Something like that. It was.
I think I've tried to forget.
I averaged like 19 points per game or 21 points a game, sorry.
Except for that one glorious day.
One glorious day. Who was quarterback that day?
Zach Calzada.
No, I'm talking about last year.
Last
2 years ago. 2 years ago.
I thought you were referring to the Zach Calzada.
Oh, that was a phenomenal game. Yeah. No, but the Zach Calzada game, they were 8-4. Their offense was okay. It was. I think no, but not as bad as 5-7, 21 points per game year.
Yeah.
I think the 8-4 year, they were closer to 25, 26 points a game.
The year they lost to Appalachian State.
Oh. But the game against LSU, which was glorious.
Yes.
Devon went off, and so did Connor Wegman had a solid game.
Yeah, Moose was really big that game.
Moose was big. All right, we'll hit a break.
A big Moose.
We'll come back. We'll get to your text messages. We'll have some more to talk about here, but that is 24 and 24, number 23, Solomon DeShields. Thanks to our friends at FBS Appliant. Right now, documentary time. Let's do a Solomon DeShields documentary with Chance McClain. I mean, he's a famous athlete, so he could probably get one done anyway. So let's use Olin Buchanan, for example. Let's do a documentary about OB. Tyler, Texas' own. Well, you were born in the Metroplex, right? Yes, Rockwall, Texas, OB, all right? And then your journey through journalism would be a kind of a cool story to leave for Quinn, and then Quinn's kids later, and your time at some of the other networks at the Austin American-Statesman, at Rivals, right? Am I right about that? Right? Mm-hmm. Rivals, yeah, because I worked with you. Hello. And then obviously at TexAgs and how you met Irma and your family. All these cool things you could leave for Quinn and his kids and their kids and I think it'd be a cool thing to watch.
Yeah, I do too. I don't know if anybody'd watch it, but I think
your family would watch it. You'd force them to. Hey guys, we're watching. It's my birthday. It's my 85th birthday. We're watching the story.
Yeah, or I'm not paying for dinner.
Yes, we're not going to Cece's, all right?
Well, we don't. Anyway.
Anywho, check out the website, yourheritagefilm.com, yourheritagefilm.com, 713-893-8341, 713. Did I tell you? Chance McClain does these videos, so that's why you call him, to do these videos for you. 713-893-8341, Heritage Films. TexAgs Radio, presented by David
I would
Gardner
like to be a
Jewelers.
paperback writer.
What does that mean?
Like if you wrote a novel that was in paperback, a paperback writer.
What's the writer part of it?
Well, you wrote the novel.
Oh, writer.
Writer.
Oh, there was like bicycle.
No, writer.
Just kidding. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. JB Moss is listening to the program.
If I've been bored?
He thinks you're on one this morning. He loves it. He's all in.
JB and I, we are
cool like that.
I was just going to say like birds of a feather.
Okay.
We flock together.
Yeah.
I admire JB Moss.
Well, he's got quite the resume.
Yes, he does. I wish I had the resume of JB Moss.
Baseball resume, of course, I'm talking about, and life.
Life resume.
Yeah. Pretty good resume.
I wish I could match JB Moss.
We're a long way from that, buddy.
Heck yeah.
We are a long way from that.
Heck yeah.
Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Callie, young people are hoping that we're having fun on the program, right?
Absolutely. Brandon in College Station.
Can I make that comment or no?
What? Which one?
The one you just made at the break?
Yeah, go ahead. I don't care.
OB goes, young people don't want old people to have fun.
It's true. I've said that, David, or people, and I've experienced this.
I'm part of an old team.
Because I'm the oldest person at TexAgs that's a full-timer.
Yeah.
And I've been here longer than anybody. And I dealt with like a lot of college kids and things like this. Yeah. And there are times I'll say things and I get this reaction. And I've heard like you or Broniger say very similar things. Everybody thinks it's hilarious.
I don't know if I said the same thing.
Yeah, similar, I said. So the point I'm making is that younger people don't like old people to have fun. They're uncomfortable with it. And so they think that what we're supposed to do, you get over 60, in their minds, we're supposed to sit around and wait to die. And I refuse to do that. I'm going to be outrageous to not enough to get fired, but I'm going to be outrageous and say things that make people uncomfortable until, my last breath.
I think it depends on the age gap, right? So
well, that's exactly what I'm.
No, but I'm like Callie's generation thinks I'm old. So they don't want me to have fun.
Yeah, but you don't look
and you
as
don't want
old.
90-years to have fun.
I do. I want them to have. I know this. I'm probably going to say something before the show's over, and Nagley's going to come in here and tell me why she's uncomfortable with it. And you know what? I'm not going to care.
By the way, Bronny's like, don't drag me into this because I have nothing to do with it.
I've heard Bronny say
Okay, let's move on. Sorry, Bronze.
I even get accused of saying of making innuendos that I'm not even making.
Oh, I make them every show.
But I'll say something very benign, and like Luke comes in here and says, I know what you meant by that. I'm saying, I meant what are you talking about? So, hey, old people, enjoy, have fun, and if the young whippersnappers don't like it, tell them to kiss your cheek.
I think it goes both ways, though. I think there are some old people that don't like to see young people have fun.
Oh, now we're getting back to the black uniforms.
I'm going to just try to grab whatever's left of my career and steer it back. All right. Since we got a minute left in the segment, and we've wasted 29 minutes, when it comes down to it, the 3 questions that aren't the main questions, did you agree with?
Yes.
Tight end play, running back, and
well, I'm good
teams.
at tight end, but I understand you're saying, hey, Donovan's come back from injury, so I get it. So I will not vehemently disagree with you on any of those.
Okay. Do you agree that my next guest is great?
Is it Trevor? No, it's Marty Smith.
They're both great.
Yeah,
the 9 o'clock hour is the best hour today. Usually the OB hour is good.
Yeah, well, Marty Smith and Trevor Knight, that's a heck of a 1-2 punch.
Yep. Thank you, OB.
You bet.
When we come back, we mention it, Marty Smith. Then we got Trevor Knight. And then we have Jason Howell. And then we have Phil Steele. Good show today. Very good. All right, we'll see you here in about, I don't know. What was that? He feels good batting leadoff. Your mic wasn't on. I'm sorry. All right, we'll be back in a few. I say it all the time, but our next guest, one of the nicest humans in the world. I think everybody that works at the SEC Network and ESPN that we deal with are just good people. Marty Smith joining us here on the Boss Firearms Hotline. What's up, Marty?
Good morning, brother. I appreciate you saying that. I hope y'all are doing well down there. I can't imagine 110. How hot is it?
It's been raining quite a bit, actually. It's probably, what, Callie, 90s?
Yeah, yesterday it was like 85 at 5:04 in the afternoon. So.
Not too bad.
Well, 85 and 88% humidity. That that feels like graphic on your weather app feels like 110.
It does. It does. Hey, so I barely saw you. I like the setup in Dallas, but where we're at the very end, so I didn't get to see you very much. We saw each other when we both checked in, and that was basically it. I didn't see you again.
That was it. Yeah, I'm sorry that I couldn't sneak by there while we were down in Dallas. It was wide open, man. It was an amazing week, though. I learned a lot, and Ryan McGee and I had the great opportunity to interview all 16 head coaches in the league at length, 20 or so minute interviews, a bunch of players, a bunch of quarterbacks, Milroe and Ewers and Beck. We interviewed Harold Perkins, Luther Burden, on and on, Connor Mays. We interviewed a lot of guys that will be key contributors this year in the league. And so it was a very busy week, plus a lot of radio. And I'm just sorry I didn't get down there to you guys. So thrilled to be with you today.
All good, man. I'm happy to have you on the program. By the way, Sideline CEO came out about a year ago now, right? Am I right about that?
Right at. Yep.
Great book, man. You did awesome with that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's done very well, and I'm really fulfilled by the opportunity to share that messaging with other people on the speaking circuit. Doing a lot of public speaking and motivational speaking at leadership conferences all over the place based on the wisdom that I learned in that book. So, yep, if you want to learn a lot about leadership, go get it. It's good.
Hey, let's talk about A&M's leadership. So you actually spoke to Jimbo last year for that book. Now you got Mike Elko. Talk to me about, and you spoke to him last week in Dallas. Tell me what you learned about him. What do you think? What are your initial thoughts?
Very measured leader and of a quiet intensity. And I think in College Station, that's probably welcome right now based on how the last couple years have gone with all the tumult over the constant analysis of how Jimbo was really doing. And I will sit here right now. Jimbo Fisher's a good football coach. Just didn't work. Just wasn't working. And so bringing Mike in as someone who instantly flipped the culture. There's a different energy, it seems, down there now. And I appreciate his approach. He understands the overall culture down there, having been on Jimbo's staff and won some really big games down there while he was DC. He goes over to Duke and does a very good job there as well. And comes back, and I think I would use that word measured but intentional. And it certainly seems the players have gravitated to that difference in approach. And when you're opening with Notre Dame at Kyle Field, there's an urgency, I think, in camp too. And so I think everybody's going to be extremely focused on being intentional with one another to be a genuine team and not have fractures with personalities. You don't have to like everybody, but when it's time to get between the lines on Saturday afternoons or evenings, you have to have that cohesion. And I believe that Mike's tutelage and wisdom and leadership will afford that from the jump. I mean, talking to players in Dallas, it's certainly – I know everybody's happy in July. Everybody's optimistic in mid-July. But I think there's reason for tremendous optimism.
Talking to Marty Smith here on TexAgs Radio. So a lot of your colleagues, Jordan Rogers especially, are very high on Connor Wigman. Small sample set, but 19-2. We'll take those numbers, and he's only had one injury, but people kind of have labeled him with this injury bug because of the A&M quarterback situation over the years. What do you think about what you've seen from Connor?
I think he's a great player. And I would love to have seen how it unfolded had he been able to stay healthy last year. I mean, the numbers were very good over that first several games. And when you have a guy like that coming back, who not only has shown that small sample size of very good play, but also has a bit of something to prove in his own mind, I think that's good. I think it's really good. I mean, I like the skill players around him. I think the running backs are good, even though you lost a lot on the perimeter. I think what's there on the perimeter is good. And so, look, I'm very high on him too. And if Jordan knows what he's talking about. I mean, he is brilliant at quarterback analytics and seeing the way the total package for the position. It's not just can you rip it. A lot of guys can rip it, but there's so much more involved in it. And I really like him. I hope he stays healthy. I don't know that the injury thing is often unfair. It's not like he's a fragile player. If that's a narrative, I think it's an unfair one.
Marty, that first weekend, A&M, Notre Dame, that's just one of the games. You've got Clemson, Georgia, Miami, and Florida. What a great way to kick off this season.
Ridiculous. Yeah, I can't wait, man. I'm kind of chomping at the bit. We're getting to that place where we're getting on towards the 1st of August, and camps are going to be starting, and we're really going to be playing football. All the talking's done. And the league this year is asinine. If you just from the start to the finish, the schedules are so unrelenting for so many of these teams. We were looking at Georgia's. I think a lot of us look at Georgia as the standard by which everyone will be measured as we enter the season anyway. So much talent, so much depth. Kirby's arguably the best coach in the country. And so you look at the total package in Athens, and they look to be the team to beat. A lot of people are very high on Texas as well. I'm a humongous fan of Steve Sarkisian. I was thoroughly impressed with Quinn Ewers. I'd not met him before last week or whenever we were there. Was that last week?
Yeah, last
2 weeks ago, whenever it was. Thoroughly impressed with him, just his presence. And it's interesting when the first question that I asked him when we sat down with Quinn was, I want you to correct me if I'm wrong, but what I witnessed from the outside, from someone who hasn't been in your locker room or understand, how your modus operandi as a person, what I saw happen was someone who decided to stop being a brand and start being a quarterback. And he kind of grinned, and because if you just look at the difference in the way he's viewed, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he went from the mullet and the viral TikTok arm angle videos and the whole thing to beating Alabama on the road and being a great leader and continually managing with great grace all the buzz around him and Manning. And so thoroughly impressed with that kid. But their schedule's brutal. Georgia's schedule is brutal. You look at what the teams these folks have to beat just to get to the championship game. No more divisions. So you're either going to be great for an entire season, maybe lose one, or you may not have the opportunity to fulfill the promise of the team.
Marty, I look at this expanded playoffs and the expanded conferences, and I wonder over the next few years, are we going to have to reevaluate what we consider elite teams because of what you just said? I think Texas and Missouri have really easy-ish schedules compared to what Oklahoma and Georgia and even I would say A&M, it's not a hardest schedule.
Have you looked at Florida's?
Florida's is ridiculous. It's the hardest in the country.
It's just not even fair for Billy Napier and his guys. That opening game with the U in Gainesville will be there with SEC Nation and Marty and McGee. That's where we're going to go week 1. Billy Napier needs that game like he needs oxygen. Mm-hmm. And the same goes for Mario Cristobal. I mean, those guys both, for the trajectories of their programs, really need that win. And there's a tremendous sense of urgency from the absolute go. And so, yes, to your point, with the college football playoff, and that was a big fear as this thing initially opened years ago, are we going to rewrite what good is? Are we going to rewrite what acceptable is? Well, how has that evolved? The answer is yes. Because, Georgia beat the brakes off of Florida State last year after both teams missed the college football playoff. And I don't think that's an indictment against Florida State at all, because when these teams have great seasons and then they don't make the playoff, a lot of young people decide what's best for their future is, I don't think I'm going to play in this game. And if you don't make the playoff can be a skewed barometer of success. And now that we go to 12, it creates more opportunity for more teams, but there's going to be some really good teams that don't make it. That doesn't mean they had a bad year.
Marty, going back to Florida for a minute, you talked about that schedule, and really that first month, the Miami game and the A&M game, they're looking at that as the two winnable games on that schedule, which tells you how ridiculous it's going to be, and why I think if you're A&M, you kind of hope they beat Miami because, you don't want to take on a desperate team there in week 3.
And that's going to be, that's in Gainesville as well. It's going to be 200,000 degrees, even though those, the A&M kids are used to that. But it's just merciless as you look through it. And fans of other conferences sort of mock the way that those of us who are really entrenched in the SEC discuss that gauntlet. Because, the Big Ten, a lot of the Big Ten schedules for these teams are very difficult as well. But I don't envy what Billy Napier has ahead. I enjoy very much spending time with him. Every time I sit down with him, I learn, and that happened again at SEC Media Days this year. But there's a lot of noise down in Gainesville.
Talking to Marty Smith here on TexAgs Radio. One thing that I found interesting last week, Marty, was that Alabama seemed like, like the 5th storyline that people got to, right? This is an Alabama team that has a brand new head coach who, by the way, was in the national championship game last year, has won at every level, and Jalen Milroe was huge towards the end of last season, yet it was very quiet when it comes to Crimson Tide standards.
I can't wait to see how Kalen DeBoer and his staff further develop Jalen Milroe at that position, because I don't think Tommy Rees and those guys got enough credit last year. Early in the season, of course, Milroe was erratic, gets benched, comes back, and was a completely different player after he watched that South Florida game. I did, I think, 2 College Game Day features on that very thing, but against Texas A&M. If you go back and watch tape of Jalen Milroe last year against A&M, he was throwing receivers open in that game. It was an extremely impressive performance throwing the football. And that's when I think the narrative really changed for him. And I'll never forget one of the most meaningful moments I had in 2023 was after the SEC championship game, chatting with Milroe on the field in the moment of that energy and that euphoria, and him getting very emotional. He broke down in tears, and I asked him, "What is this emotion?" And he said, "Everybody gave up on me. Everybody gave up on me, but I did not give up on myself. And I was able to bring my team to the SEC mountaintop and the college football playoff. And they had an opportunity to beat Michigan in the Rose Bowl. They didn't, but they had an opportunity to. And I don't know that a whole lot of people, when we kicked off a year ago, thought that Alabama Crimson Tide team would do that.
Marty, let's close out with this, because we mentioned Jalen Milroe, Carson Beck, Quinn Ewers. Those are all the top tier. But you got all these other quarterbacks that are trying to vie for position. Nico is getting a lot of buzz. We already mentioned Connor Wigman getting some buzz. There's a lot of quarterbacks, Garrett Nussmeier. We're gonna learn about who the new top tier is.
We are, and I think that Nico, just my goodness, you just turn on the tape with that guy and you talk to Heupel about him, and you talk to his teammates about him. They love the guy, and I know that optimism in Knoxville is is at a fever pitch because you have that kind of talent behind center and a lot of talent around him and a great offensive system that gives people fits. I don't think that Nussmeier is – I mean, that guy's ready to go. He is plug and play. Any time that he's been called on, he has played at a very high level. He can really rip it. And I think the BK Brian Kelly's very high on him too. And that's, I mean, there's so many good quarterbacks in the league, even at Florida. You know, you got a veteran coming back in Mertz. I mean, a really seasoned player. And I know that Billy's happy about that. So you're right. There are the names that everybody's talking about, but I think the vast majority of the teams, as long as they can keep them healthy, have a guy who can do really special things. And they have to. Man, they just have to. That position is so vital in the overall engine. If you don't have a guy who can beat you in myriad ways and really diagnose, the league's just too hard. It's just too hard if you don't have a stud.
Marty, that hat is fire, man. Where'd you get it?
Well, I have a buddy who has a hat company, and he made it for me. I wear it all the time, and everybody asks me, where did you get that hat? So I told that buddy, man, you need to start a business right now. Yeah, it is fire. I can't lie.
Well, if he does start a business, let me know, because
I'll send you one, bro.
You got it, man. Hey,
but we can't cover that hair up, man.
Dude, I got this bald spot in the back. We got to cover something.
Oh, I appreciate you having me always, man. You guys have a great day. I can't wait to get down there and see y'all.
You got it, man. Be blessed.
Cheers.
Marty Smith on the Boss Firearms Hotline, one of my favorite people in the world. All right, he was great. We'll hit a break here. When we come back, we're going to continue going around the SEC because Callie's, oh gosh, almost dropped my coffee. Callie's got some great things to talk about there when it comes to the SEC. So Jason Rollo was listening earlier. I hope he's still listening. If you haven't been to Rollo Insurance or the Rollo Insurance studio, by the way, you got to check out their awesome headquarters on Highway 6. They're the place to go when it comes to all your insurance needs. Homeowners, they'll take care of you. Cars, they'll take care of you. Farmers, ranchers, hobby farmers, business owners, they want to be the place that you go to for your insurance needs. And it doesn't matter where you are, especially in this area, they are the place to go. And you know their priorities: God, family, and country. That's how they roll. And everything that they do, they want to make sure that those priorities are listed in the building. When you walk in, you'll see it. That's how good they are there at Rollo Insurance. And of course, we got our car insurance through them, our homeowners insurance. They're just the best. 53 offices in Texas. You've got a Houston location. You've got a North Texas location, East Texas. You've got Central Texas, West Texas, everything outside of Texas. They got offices in New Mexico. You name it, they're going to take great care of you. And of course, as I've mentioned many, many times, their headquarters is on Highway 6 right here in College Station. That's why you see them all around town. That's why you hear them texting the show, because they're all a part of this community. The website is rolloinsurance.com. You can call them up, 888-44-ROLLO. That's 888-44-ROLLO, or go to rolloinsurance.com. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Hour number 2 of the program. Marty Smith was fantastic. I don't know why I did that accent. I have no idea. Apologies. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center because Callie's got some SEC storylines that she's monitoring and is going to present some information to us. Callie, good morning.
Good morning.
Is it weird to say good morning after I've already said good morning?
No, I think some people could use good morning as a greeting, but some people could use good morning as like
a segue.
Yes.
Okay.
But also like a good morning, like it's a good morning.
Yeah, and when does morning end in your eyes? 11? When do you like?
11:59.
11:59, because right when it gets to noon, afternoon.
Yeah, I do find myself saying good morning at like 12:15 or 12:30 though sometimes.
Do you really?
Yes.
That's because you woke up at 12.
No.
Just kidding. All right, what do you have?
So On3 did a team recruiting rankings for the 2025 class, and 11 of the top 25 classes belong to SEC programs. A&M ranks 4th within the SEC and 7th overall. Within the SEC, they have Alabama at 1, LSU at 2, Georgia at 3, A&M at 4, Oklahoma at 5, and then Texas is at 7, Tennessee's at 6. And obviously we have the bottom 5 or 4, which is the bottom 5 or 4 in the overall SEC preseason rankings too. Vanderbilt at 16, Mississippi State at 15. I was interested by the Ole Miss spot at 12. I haven't really followed their recruiting a ton for the 2025
They're a transfer
class.
team. That's how they roll.
Yes, but I've noticed that they are not huge in the high school commits. They like to snag the transfers out of the portal.
Let me jump in because later on when Jason Howell's on the program, I'm going to ask him this. A&M has recruited at such an elite level since Jimbo's time here, and they're continuing to do that. But could you imagine the type of recruiting they'll do with sustained success, right? They've done a good job with a one-off, right? 2020 is a long time ago, guys. They've done a really good job since that season. But if you have like 2, 3 consecutive like 9, 10, 11 win seasons, what type of recruiting they'll be able to do. And they've done a really good job regardless of it. But with the NIL, with the facilities, with the culture, and with proof, right? Because they've done it without real proof. They had 1 year of real proof, and then like you were selling, as Bronny used to say, the sizzle, right? As opposed to, look, here is the proof, what we've done. Here, look at these last 3 years. Imagine if you're, in your top 10 typically, but you have sustained success, what kind of recruiting pitch that will be, because now you have the proof to back it up. All right, Callie, what else?
I completely agree with you on that. Speaking of Ole Miss earlier, I was scrolling through X, or I guess Twitter, whichever you call it.
I'm more of a Twitter guy.
I still call it Twitter. I don't think I'll change from that.
And I think we've discussed on the show before, when you post, you're not Xing. That's a drug. Right?
Right.
I'm right about that, right? Like, that's still a drug that people do?
Yeah. I think now they call it posting.
Posting?
Posting.
Oh,
like
I thought the drug was posting.
Oh, no. I have no idea what they...
Yeah, I can deal with posting, but like tweeting.
I still say tweeting.
Yeah.
Anyway. And I still call it Twitter. Anyways, I saw a video of Lane Kiffin doing a TikTok with, I think it was his daughter. And someone responded to it and said something, and they said, you would be dancing like that too if your head coach and your team had the schedule that Ole Miss does for the first month. And so I got curious and I looked it up. Do you know who they play their first 4 games?
Please tell me, because I don't remember it.
They play Furman, Middle Tennessee, Wake Forest, and Georgia Southern. And all 3 of those 4 are at Ole Miss.
Can you give, there's the rest of the schedule. Thank you, Nick, for that. So I don't remember them being listed as one of the easiest schedules in college football, but let's see. Kentucky, they're hosting Kentucky. Then they go to South Carolina. Okay. Maybe LSU is their first loss. Maybe. Oklahoma at Arkansas. Georgia will be tough, obviously. At Florida, if it's tough for A&M, I'm going to say it's going to be tough for, they're going to go 10-2 at the worst, right? You look at that schedule, like maybe they drop LSU, they drop Georgia. Maybe, no, at worst they go 9-3, but that's a pretty, like you just need to be semi-good on defense, and you're going to win 10 games on that season with Mississippi State, with Arkansas. Yeah, no, they've got themselves a nice little cakewalk.
Yeah, and they don't have to play us. It's like,
I wish they did.
They don't have to play us, but
and it's not cool to say. And I actually said it during the whole drama but I kind of like Lane. I just don't want him to be our coach. But I like having personalities like that in college football. I love it. I think he's good for the sport, and I can't wait to beat him by 50.
Did you see him on Feinbaum the other day?
When he went hard after Feinbaum, yeah.
He did. Anyways, moving on. So I know we've probably touched on this before, but Alabama is naming their field at Bryant-Denny Stadium after Nick Saban, and the official name of it will be Saban Field at Bryant-Denny Stadium, and they will honor their former coach and dedicate their field at their game against South Florida on September 7th. So a really neat way to just honor their coach and someone who did some really awesome things for their school.
There's a I'm not going to make this a political hour, but there's a lot of push for him to run for office somewhere.
I've seen that.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about
his politics or
his ability to run a country.
And I don't think just because you can run a football team or run a business or run or whatever doesn't mean it always translates. But like you see what Brett Yormark is doing from the music world to running the Big 12. Like leaders are leaders, and you can put them in multiple areas and they will be very successful. That doesn't necessarily translate to being the governor or the president of the United States.
I think with some help, though. I think if you have that leadership
with the right
background,
offensive coordinator giving you a
exactly.
Sorry. Yes.
Yes, either way. Lastly, so I know we've talked about NIL a ton on here, but the LSU star gymnast, I'm sure you've heard of her, Livy Dunn, has announced her return to LSU for her 5th and final season, and she currently ranks 2nd in On3's NIL valuations. Do you know her valuation number?
1.6 million.
3.9 million. And again, that's a valuation. But
did it have who are the top?
I'm pretty sure it's Sanders.
Shedeur Sanders is number 1?
Yes.
Okay.
But they're based on performance, influence, exposure, and deal data. And so I got curious because 25% of each really is what it should be. So I started looking into her performance. I didn't really know much about her and her ability to be a gymnast. I'm sure she's great. She has acquired 6 different accolades over her time at LSU. 5 of them have to do with academics.
Oh, she's a smarty.
She got 1 honor that was not an academic honor, and it was in 2021, and she was named an All-American. But that was it. So I don't know her performance. I don't know how well she performs on the gym floor. But I just thought it was very interesting that her number is 3.9. And I know that has a lot to do with her influence and how she, can market a item or whatever it is. But that's a lot of money.
That is quite a bit of money. One other little SEC note. Not that I care about his opinion, but he did say it. Steve Spurrier thinks that Florida State should definitely belong in the SEC. At one point when there are less conferences, sure, but there's no need to add them right now, right? I understand the why behind it. I kind of want it to happen just so Florida has to deal with what A&M had to deal with. Like, hey, it's not just us, right? There's that part of it, but it ain't happening anytime soon, guys. And in the world of conference realignment, you never know, but it just doesn't not feel like that is going to happen. All right, when we come back here on TexAgs Radio, Trevor Knight going to join the program. We'll talk A&M. We'll talk Oklahoma. We'll talk life. We'll talk family, you name it, here on the show. Right now, though, Milliken Reserve Time. They are a farm-to-table community, and they're in College Station. They got homes. They got trails. They got farms, and they got wide-open spaces with a mission to build a healthy community around nature. They're committed to treading lightly on that beautiful land that you can find Milliken Reserve on, creating a sanctuary for family, for nature, and for community. They got 2,600 acres of open space. It is beautiful. They got farms. They got trails, 30 miles of trails, I should say, and homes. They want to connect families to nature and to each other. They have this extensive network of trails throughout a wooded landscape that includes walking and equestrian paths, creeks and ponds, and gathering areas. And they're committed to maintaining and restoring that natural habitat, which is why you'll see all the beautiful white-tailed deer, the songbirds, the rabbits, the turtles, you name it. And homeowners there at Milliken Reserve sharing a legacy of conservation, which means generation after generation, you're coming back to that pristine countryside place. They provide a natural setting for people to connect and come together. You can go hiking there. You can go biking. You can go canoeing. You can go kayaking, equestrian trails. They got that. They got the trails, the evening yoga, the summer camps, the music festivals, the farmer markets, and the farm tours. You can learn more at millikenreserve.com. That website, again, is millikenreserve.com. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers in the Rollo Insurance Studio. And all guests that join us on the Boss Firearms Hotline, your local experts. They buy used guns, ammo, and accessories. Go to bossfirearms.com and start earning money like a boss today. We should have Trevor Knight here on the program in a few minutes. He's hopping on the Zoom. He just texted me, so we'll get to him here in a moment. A couple different things that I want to talk to him about. Oh, he's already there. Well, instead of telling you what I'm going to talk to him about, let's go straight to the hotline. The Boss Firearms Hotline. Trevor Knight joining us. Trevor, what's up, bud?
What's going on, David? Good to be on this morning.
Hey, man, I feel like we do this every year. We talk about connecting more. I see you on the sidelines, and then we go a whole year and don't talk. So I apologize. That's on me, buddy.
No, that's on me too. It's a two-way street, but every time your name pops up on my phone and an opportunity like this gets me all excited. And it also means, given our trajectory and kind of our cadence the last couple of years, like you mentioned, it's almost football time in Aggie land, so I'm super excited about it.
Yeah, I'm pumped to talk to you about it. It's probably super interesting for you because of your ties to both A&M and Oklahoma. They're not playing this year, but the fact that you get to watch them with the same lens, I guess, if you will. Just your thoughts on that it's here finally, Oklahoma in the SEC, A&M and obviously has been here for a while. Just your thoughts.
Yeah, it's super exciting. Inherently as college football goes towards all this realignment and super conferences, and then you throw in NIL and transfer portal and those types of things, you want the best of the best playing against each other week in and week out. And obviously with the SEC and then the additions to the Big Ten, you're starting to see big blue bloods that are going to be playing in September and October, and not just on rivalry weekends and things like that. So I couldn't be more excited for the brand of football that we're going to have in the SEC. Obviously, what it's been has been superior to, in my opinion, the rest of the conferences in the country. But you add in a Longhorn logo and an A&M, an OU logo to the mix, and it just creates a little bit more buzz. So super excited about it, week in and week out football, and it's going to be a tall task for every team in this conference on a week in, week out basis.
Trevor, do you talk to your Oklahoma friends and look, guys, I think you know what you're getting into, but it's really different because it's every week. That are you having those kind of conversations?
Yeah, I think it's, depending on what lens you look at it through, right? Oklahoma is an unbelievable program, a mainstay in college football and has been for a long time. So there will be a competitiveness that they bring to the conference, but it is different. I got to experience that firsthand. When you're going to Mississippi State or to Ole Miss or to Tennessee or whatever it looks like, it's not like going up to Lawrence, back when Kansas wasn't competitive, or it's not like going to, a 5-5 Iowa State team back before they were competitive. The stature of player is different in the SEC. The magnitude of the stadiums is different in the SEC, and just the week in, week out grind of dealing with injuries and bumps and bruises and the emotional roller coaster of big games is different. So I think, both for Oklahoma and Texas, they're going to have this learning curve that A&M and the other, schools that have been in the conference for a while have already gotten through. And it's going to be a little bit of a shocker, but I think they're ready to make the move.
Talking to Trevor Knight here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers here on the Boss Firearms Hotline. Trevor, let's talk a little bit about Coach Elko and what you've been able to see from afar and the kind of program that he's building. What are your initial takeaways so far?
Extreme excitement. Obviously, I think everybody should be. I think the fact that Coach Elko had a run here in College Station in recent memory kind of takes away from the initial shock of getting incorporated into a new culture, specifically the Aggie culture and all those things that come with being a new head coach at A&M. He's already gotten through some of those hurdles, and so he's just been able to put his head down and get to work. And I'm excited about what he's done this offseason. I think the team, as you can see from my seat, and I think everybody else's seat on the outside looking in, has gravitated towards him and this staff. And there's a lot of excitement around College Station right now. Inherently, when you do have a change, there are some of those question marks, but I'm just so glad that he's the guy that's leading the troops in this stage of Aggie football.
Trevor, if you can help evaluate the quarterback position, obviously Connor gets top billing because we know what he can be and what we've seen from him. Jalen Henderson was so nice last year, and then Marcel Reed in the bowl game kind of showed that potential, what he could be. So just what have you seen on film?
Well, I think when you've got multiple guys that can go out there and operate an offense, it makes not only the quarterback room better, but it makes the team better. If those guys join forces and say, hey, look, we're the nucleus of what we're trying to accomplish here. We're inherently the leaders of this program. If we make each other better every day on the field, the rest of the team's going to follow. And I see that out of this group. Obviously, I hope Connor goes out and has a world-class year and leads us to places that we've never been before. But just having the pressure and the support of those guys behind them that are able to step in if and when called is huge for any program. So depth is always key at the quarterback position, both from the guy on the field, but also the guys that are out there rallying the troops, Monday through Friday. Incredibly huge for this program, and I think we'll see that show up on Saturdays.
Beyond the production, what do you like about Connor's game?
I think he's got great poise. I think he's got a level of leadership that goes past what we even see. He's got an innate ability to get guys around him playing their best football. And I've been around multiple guys that have done that. Johnny was one of those guys, right? I mean, guys just wanted to play well for him. I was around Baker Mayfield for a couple years. Even if we weren't out on the field, you just see guys step up the level of their game because they want to play for him. And that shows true leadership. And I think he's got some of those qualities. He obviously can make every throw. He can make big time plays. He can move the ball down the field. Yeah, that's all table stakes. But it's the intangibles for me that I've seen out of Connor and the way that he's responded to some of the adversity he's been through that makes me really excited about him.
When you look at where we've been the last couple of years, but all the changes with Coach Elko and the culture and some of the new players, what is an acceptable good year wins-wise when you look at this roster, this team at this point in their history?
Yeah, I think that's always up for interpretation, right? I think glass half full type of guy like I am, I think 10-win season should be the standard in College Station. And I think there's certainly a path there, given the resources that we have and the players that we have, and now the coaching staff that we have and have assembled. I really like Trev Alberts and what he's been able to do across the board, specifically as it relates to football. And so there's a lot of positive momentum and energy right now. So I'm going to go and say we need to have 10 wins. And I think that's an acceptable benchmark to have at this point.
And what about for Oklahoma? Do you think, considering that schedule, and they are in most polls predicted to be higher than A&M, but you look at that schedule, it's their first year in the SEC. What do you think?
A lot of question marks there. Obviously on the offensive line, you return, I don't think any starters, if I'm being correct there. You've got a new quarterback. Now, he had some good playing time this past year, and we all know that he's got the tools to be very successful, but he's still a young guy, and you're going to battle some of the waves of that in Jackson Arnold and being in the new conference, right? I think the one thing that they have going for them is this is not year one of Brent Venables. Brent Venables has been able to establish his culture. Some of the guys, when he got there that were young guys, are now veterans and leaders on the team. And so I think that they can be competitive. However, that's a gauntlet of a schedule there. And so I think the mentality for them is going to be, you just got to take this 1 week at a time, like everybody else, but certainly for them, 1 week at a time. Don't make the moment bigger than it is. Yes, it's a new conference, but let's do what we do and see where we end up at the end of the year. I've said Oklahoma can scrape out 9 wins. I think though the standard at Oklahoma is 10, and so I'll put them in the same boat. Hey, you've got a lot of preseason hype. Go get 10 wins. That's the standard at Oklahoma, and I think there's a path there. It's just going to be tough sledding.
Even though he hasn't proven it yet, Brent Venables to me seems like the better fit for the SEC than what Lincoln Riley would have been before he jumped ship to USC. Just your kind of thoughts on how this has all transpired, how his career, Lincoln's kind of took a little, went up for a second and then kind of right now he's at a prove it mode.
Yeah, this past year was tough for them, having, Caleb Williams, arguably one of the best quarterbacks that has come out in quite some time, and just not having the production out there on the West Coast. And now they jump into the Big Ten, and you're going to see different defenses, and you're going to go to stadiums that are a lot different than what they're used to out there in the Pac-12. So that'll be interesting to watch from afar. But I do believe Brent Venables is an SEC caliber coach. Obviously when he left Oklahoma years ago and went out to Clemson, they built a dynasty out there and they competed with the best in the country, got a couple rings. Yeah, you would argue that Brent Venables was and maybe still is the best defensive mind in football. And so that bodes well going into the SEC. We're going to be hard-nosed. We got to recruit the style of guys that are going to fit into this conference. But he's been there. He's done that. He's tasted it. He's seen it. And so just that level of experience, I think, makes everybody take a little bit of a deep breath as we enter into the new conference. Now, conversely, and I'll talk about A&M and Mike Elko, he's called the defense in this conference before at A&M. So I've got no level of worry as it relates to that. And now here, what are we, 12 years into the SEC, which is crazy to think about, primed and ready to rock and roll.
Well, Trevor, I'll add to that. Coach Elko thinks that this could potentially be the best defense he's had at A&M, and that tells you something because he's had some pretty good ones.
That's right. Yeah, I'm super excited about that. Obviously, I'm an offensive guy, and so putting up a bunch of big numbers on the offensive side is what I look forward to. But defense truly does win championships. You've been telling everybody that since, they were 10 years old on the Pop Warner fields, and I like our squad this year. I like the mentality that we've had the last couple years, tightening everything down, getting it rocking and rolling, having Elko there in those meetings and some oversight. It's again poised to be an exciting year on both sides of the ball.
Do you know what games you're coming to this year yet, or you'll make that determination later?
I'm going to come to as many as possible. I am planning on being at the opener against Notre Dame. And then I wouldn't miss the Texas game if my life depended on it. So I'll be at that one as well. And certainly probably a few more in between.
Hey, and how's family life?
Family life's great. We've got a 2-year-old little boy. He's running around, and we just found out we're expecting number 2. So growing the Knight family, and got to start breeding them and putting on their 12 jerseys so we can start yelling on Saturdays when the games are on.
Congratulations, man. It's great news. And thank you so much. Can't wait to see you there at the opener.
Awesome, guys. Gig 'em Ags, and we'll talk soon.
Take care. Trevor Knight there on the Boss Firearms Hotline. Always bringing it. Dude is a great speaker with a good smile. All the time, that guy's smiling. Love that dude. So thank you, Trevor. Appreciate you. We'll hit a break. We'll come back with some closing thoughts for the hour number 2, or for hour number 2, I should say. And then hour number 3, Jason Howell will join us, and Phil Steele. And Phil's got A&M not as high as I want him to have him, but he's got some good things to say. So we'll talk about that. Right now, a moment for Caldwell Country Chevrolet. You can find them on Highway 21 in Caldwell and online at caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. They have great deals on their website. Yes, you know that about their website. They're going to give you some great deals when you go there, and you're going to see the inventory that they have, get a kind of feel for what is on the lot. Then you make the trek over there to Caldwell, and I'll tell you later. It's only a 15-minute drive, but you'll get there, and you'll experience the great customer service. And, of course, you can do the test drive, kind of get a feeling for what they have there. And then you're going to be blown away because that customer service is second to none. They have complimentary pickup and service for their, complimentary pickup and delivery for their service customers. It is the place to go in this area and beyond to get yourself a vehicle. And you're going to just feel really good about the entire process. 15-minute drive. The edge of Bryant to the beginnings of Caldwell, a short conversation away. But you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with the great people there at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. And we're back here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, 911 University Drive East in College Station. They are a proud corporate sponsor of Aggie Athletics and of this show since day one. You can shop online at davidgardnersjewelers.com. That is davidgardnersjewelers.com. Go say hi to the folks there. They're great, David and Julia and the whole gang. davidgardnersjewelers.com. All right, so I just want to make sure we're all on the same page here, guys. I don't care about an alternate uniform or not. It doesn't, I don't care. I feel like, and Callie will read some of these messages, but I feel like there's, here's, I'm going to read one, Callie.
I'm sorry, David. Yeah. I really didn't mean
you derailed the show, and people are very passionate. But I don't care. If we have an alternate uniform, it doesn't affect my life, good or bad. Cool. All right, I see them.
I agree. Yeah, I kind of just said it almost as a joke. Of course, I'd like to see an alternate, but it's if they don't, it's not the end of the world. I don't care.
But here's one from Tim Durden on the YouTube page. You know who doesn't have an alternate uniform? Alabama and Georgia. You know what they do have? I'll let you guess. And I read it like I was saying it mean. I'm sure he meant it with a nice tone. Yeah, I don't think that's the why. I think it's the cultures, the head coach, and maybe that the uniform part of it plays a role. I don't care. If kids like it and it's going to be a potential selling point to somebody, okay, cool. If fans are going to buy it, cool. I don't think that particular avenue affects what happens on the field. I don't. I might be wrong. What teams in sports have alternate uniforms that do well? The Yankees are classics. They don't have any.
Michigan,
they do have one?
Yeah. Florida State recently have had Oregon. Well, yeah, Oregon.
Oh, they haven't won.
Yeah, they haven't won a championship.
Real Madrid
Georgia
has alternates every year.
Worn black uniforms before. I mean, if you want to go, yeah, I'm trying to keep it in college football, but I think Clemson has one.
Yeah,
purple.
Again, I'd be fine if they just did maroon and white the way they've done it always. It doesn't bother me. They had an alternate every once in a while. USA game, cool. They have a maroon and white camo one game, awesome. I'm all in. Whatever.
Again, I apologize, David. I really didn't mean to derail the show.
It's July 20.
We should get Jason Howell's opinion on that.
Good head of hair there. We'll talk to Jason Howell. We'll go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. We'll continue talking, hopefully stuff beyond the uniforms. We got a lot to talk about. We got a lot of good stuff. TexAgs Radio. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. It is time for Recruiting Country, and that is presented by Caprock Health System, a faster patient-centered revolution in care with 2 ERs in the Bryan College Station area. You got the original 24-hour in South College Station on William D. Fitch, and the full-service hospital with ER in Bryan on Briarcrest. You can shop online, you can visit them online at caprockhealthsystem.com. And on the Boss Firearms Hotline, Jason Howell is joining us here on the program. Jason, good morning, buddy.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. It's always a pleasure.
Good to have you on the program. By the way, for those of you who have recruiting questions for Jason, send them in at 979-693-1150. We'll do that in the second segment if you have any questions you want to get into. So this is the super crazy time. Well, it's always crazy, especially with transfer portal. But as we get close to the pool party, I feel like the talking season is kind of back.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's always wild, but this is the final recruiting weekend of the summer. Basically, you close out July with an event. Everybody around the country's got some kind of barbecue, pool party, whatever they're doing, and Texas A&M has always, they've always done a pretty good job of putting together a pretty awesome weekend, good barbecue, good eats, and a lot of top prospects in town for the weekend.
I want to get into that here in a moment, but a topic kind of came up on the show that I wanted to ask you. So A&M has recruited at such a great clip, really for a while, since entering the SEC, but the Jimbo era took it in a new direction. And that's with one-off good seasons, right? 2020 is 4 years ago. It's been a minute. Yet they've, in a coaching change, I thought recruited quite well. With a 5-7 season, a 7-5 season, have recruited quite well. Coach Elko's doing awesome in his first year as the head coach. But what do you think sustained success? I'm talking like 9-10 consecutive, win seasons, like 2-3 years. What that could mean for a program that has done well while having these one-off seasons.
I mean, you put together some 10-win seasons and you start to take those next steps to being in that national championship conversation year in and year out. And Texas A&M is going to recruit right up there with the Georgias and Alabamas and, with the talent you have in the state of Texas, the branding and the reach that these coaches have had under Jimbo, you saw more of a national presence. You continue to see a lot of reach. A&M's getting into California big time in this class, and they've shown they can still reach up into the Northeast and get some guys in on visits, and the name still resonates. So you put together some of those 9-10, you start hitting 11, and be in that championship conversation, and the recruiting's going to be next level, top end of the country. But I mean, you're already talking about a program that recruits at a, top 8 to 4 level on a regular basis now. So you're getting a lot of those looks, and taking that next step, and like Bronny's always talked about, selling the sizzle at A&M, but you start to show those tangible results, and you're going to see it. Now, Elko has the ability to sell off the promise. This is what we're going to do. This is what Coach Klein can do on offense. Come be a part of what we're about to do. So you can sell some of that sizzle for a couple years, but you better start producing results on the field as well.
Talking to Jason Howell here on TexAgs Radio. So I know you released an article this morning, Aggie comparisons for defensive members of the 25 class. Let's kind of go through some of those. I want people to go and read it, so we won't go through all of it. But we'll start off with the first one, Landon Rink. Who did you compare him to?
Justin Matabike. And it's not a direct comparison. Matabike came in as a guy who was a strong side defensive end, a bit undersized at 265, but you knew once he hit the weight room, got in the strength and conditioning program, he could bulk up, and he did. I mean, he was a rock of muscle, And Rink, he's kind of viewed a little undersized, maybe not as long as you'd like. But 6'2.5", 280 pounds. But the thing that I really like about this comparison is these are two really tightly wound guys. They work their hands. They've got great motors, and they're just they play with great leverage in those trenches and bring an athleticism that's hard to find.
All right, let's do another one. Noah McKell, who recently joined the team, or excuse me, joined the commitment list. Who do you compare him to?
I had him with Anthony Hines, and honestly, I went back and forth a few times, and I went with Hines because Hines and McKell both have that ability to play from the mic to the edge, and they were both highly recruited prospects through the years. I think they both saw offers before their freshman year or during their freshman year. They've been multi-year, highly productive linebackers on the high school level, playing at top programs and at the highest levels of high school football in the states of California and Texas. So I really like that from that standpoint. And Hines, before he opted out, it looked like he was set to be a starter and had made some pretty early contributions. And you could see McKell being able to make early contributions and once and be a starter and a huge piece of the puzzle on the defensive side in short order.
So this morning we did day 2 of 24 and 24, number 23, Solomon DeShields. And one of the things that was brought up about him was he could be potentially on this squad, Edge Cooper-esque type of player. But you've got a comparison for an Edge Cooper coming soon.
Yeah, Kelvion Riggins, and this is purely, the size. Both of them were about 6'1", 210. About this time or towards the end of their high school careers, and they bring a violence to the table. You see on the tape just the way they end their tackles. They've been there. They're blowing a hole through whoever they're touching. They're very twitchy, and if Edge came in and he was able to grow and develop into that role that he turned into this past year in 23. And Kelvion, I think if he's got the tools. We'll see about the growth and development there. But you see a lot of those twitchy, elements to his game as well.
Talking to Jason Howell here on TexAgs Radio. So here's one that is recent as well. Dejon Petaway. Who did you compare him to?
I threw out Bryce Anderson, I went back and forth on a number of guys with Dejon. I like Armani Watts there as well, and I had a few other guys in there, but I went with Anderson because Anderson coming up, you always saw that versatility across the back end, the instincts. He's physical. They're similar in size. And they're guys that have played multiple years, freshman varsity, starters or contributors, both of them, and multi-sport guys who have played a number of positions, throughout their career. So you see high football IQ, the leadership qualities there. And I think Petaway is going to be used in a lot of ways that you're seeing of Bryce Anderson.
Jason Howell with us here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Let's do one more. Kobe Sellers, excuse me.
Yeah, and you're talking about a lean, long, lean guy, 6 foot, 175, 180 pounds, known for back and quickness, his burst and his blanket cover skills. And I went back to Houston, I guess. With humble 1999 cornerback Sammy Davis. So you see a lot there to like with the frames, the similar athleticism, and yeah, gives the fans an idea of what to expect from his game. Maybe not the potential. We're talking about a guy who was a first round draft pick. So I don't want to put that on Sellers just yet, but it's it gives you an idea of what could be and what his skill set lends itself to.
Jason, when it comes to the pool party, have we learned any of the new wrinkles or what could be different, or is it one of those things you'll experience it when you're there?
Yeah, I think you'll probably see a lot of similarities. I mean, Elko was there when they really started ramping things up under Jimbo Fisher for the pool party weekend. It's a pretty laid back atmosphere. It's not like they're going from event to event and having some pool party Olympics. It's barbecue. It's sitting and talking, and families getting to know each other, and really building relationships as much as anything around the pool. That, of course, I'm sure there'll be some games. There'll be some water gun fights. There'll be some talk of football throughout the weekend. Yeah, I think that's pretty much what it's going to be about. Good food, football, family, friends, and just building some bonds.
I don't believe you've posted the visitor list just yet, and I know we want to say that for our subscribers.
We did.
Oh,
we
you did?
Just posted.
Okay.
We posted it this morning. Yes, sir.
Are there? Because obviously we want our subscribers to get that information first. Are there any little hints or a couple names you could throw at us?
Well, I mean, look at the commitment list, and you'll see a large portion of those guys in town, as well as some of the PWO commitments on special teams. The 2025 list right now, we're not expecting a ton of those guys in. There's not a whole lot of big name, big time targets on the board that are uncommitted right now. So, I wouldn't expect a long list, but I wouldn't count out a Trey McNutt or a Jonah Williams or somebody like that popping through this weekend. Not expecting DJ Sanders to make the trip, but there's a few guys to keep an eye on in that 25 class, but I wouldn't. They're not confirmed for this weekend, but yeah, the 26 group loaded. There's a ton of guys from across the state and across the country, national recruits. You see A&M really getting a jump start on that 26 class, and this is a precursor to kind of what to expect with that Notre Dame weekend. That's coming up at the end of August. You're going to see a lot of guys, another big national list and high end Texas, the prospects from the Texas area come in for that weekend as well.
And you're not expecting a huge amount of commits this weekend. Sometimes we see it after the pool party, or they get real close. They've already done a lot of the groundwork to kind of. I think they're at a safer spot this year than maybe some other years. Am I fair there?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at the list. You've got since it's so loaded underclassmen, especially. You've got. I'm not expecting a ton of guys to pull the trigger. You may have some shortly afterwards, whether they make it in or not. You're going to hear word from a couple of those guys. Daquan Prevost out of Liberty Ilu 2026 has got a July 30th commitment date, and Trey McNutt's on August 3rd. So you're looking at A&M being very much in the mix for those guys. So I wouldn't expect anything this weekend, especially from those guys, but shortly after you may be talking about something. So yeah, I don't expect a ton of commitment action, but it's always a possibility. It's always a possibility.
Well, let's go back to Trey McNutt, because we knew they were close, but I feel like the optimism and the momentum has been pointing in A&M's favor. At least it feels that they've made up a lot of ground.
Yeah, going into July 19th, he was He was looking like it was Oregon, but Texas A&M was there, and we always kind of kept the door open. Said, "Yeah, Oregon. I give Oregon the edge. That'd be my prediction." But keeping the door open, and he was continuing to stay in communication with A&M staff, and that's been the case throughout. So, and since his delay to August 3rd. So, yeah, A&M has seen things continue to build there. They're in a very good spot. Oregon is not going away though. Ohio State's kind of there in the mix as well, along with Florida and USC. But Oregon and A&M are the two to watch, and I think it's going to be kind of neck and neck.
And how are things standing with Prevo?
Well, Prevo, I really like A&M's chances right there. He was a standout at A&M's camp in June. I think he was the fastest man, ran a 4.4 at the June 20th camp, and really connected well with Holman Wiggins. But Penn State, Baylor, Arkansas, and USC, along with Texas, are kind of in the mix there as well. But I'd give A&M the edge there.
All right, let's do this. Let's hit a break. We'll come back with some questions for Jason Howell, and I also got a couple other things to get to. 979-693-1150. If you have a question for Jason, it is Recruiting Country, brought to you by Caprock Health. It is TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Recruiting Country brought to you by Caprock Health System. Jason Howell. They're on the Boss Firearms Hotline. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. That was like a NASCAR segment right there already. All of these guys. Callie, I think a couple questions have come in for Mr. Howell.
Yes, we had one from Tayag and Taylor, and it was asking about our assistant GM that went back to Florida and asking how that affects this class and how important it is to get him replaced quickly.
Joe Hamilton News. I think if I read it correctly on the boards, I think it was just probably best for both parties in this instance.
Yeah, and he has a history there with Napier, who hired him at UL in Louisiana before they moved on to Florida, and it was a good situation for him to go back and probably got himself a nice little raise in the process. But what's important to know is, yeah, you need to fill that void there. But I think A&M's in a great spot with guys like a Derek Mason kind of leading the way in that GM spot. He's been there with Coach Elko since the days at Duke, and they have a pretty well-oiled machine running up there as well. So not to take away from anything that he did, but yeah, I think they're in a good spot, and they'll end up grabbing somebody here and filling that role in short order, I'm sure.
Jason, I mean, they went half of last year without a recruiting coordinator, right? So I mean, they know how to manage different staff, yeah, but you know what I mean.
They'll be good. It's not something that I don't think it's going to impact them this week or anything like that. But yeah, it's definitely, it's something it's a spot that was there, so he was doing something,
right?
Whether and somebody's gonna have to pick up the slack until they do fill that void. But I don't think that's out of the question either.
All right, so wide receiver, obviously an area of emphasis. They've only got 2 committed. Tell us some of the names that are still out there: Khalil Lockett, Michael Terry. There's a bunch of names. Just kind of go through the scenarios with these. I was going to say young men, these gentlemen.
Well, and we see this as like a 3 to 4 member class. So you're only looking at 1 to 2 more additions. You've got Khalil Lockett, Jerome Miles, Michael Terry, kind of the main ones to keep an eye on there. It's looking like you're playing catch up with Michael Terry and Lockett a little bit right now. Both of them are expecting to make some summertime decisions. I'd still keep those 2 on your radar throughout the season, especially if that offense gets clicking. We've seen how that can play out over the course of a season. Evan Stewart comes to mind as a guy who wasn't even on a realistic possibility at this point in his recruiting process. And then after that Alabama game, I mean, there's all of a sudden interest. So things have a way of working themselves out there when it comes to that. But Jerome Miles is a guy who does not plan to make a decision anytime soon. He's at Michigan this weekend. He took his official visit to Texas A&M in June, and really the Aggies opened his eyes. He has them up there in his top 5. We'll see what happens there, but you're looking at a 6'3", 215-pound receiver that has some incredible numbers on the track, and averages. I want to say he averaged like 25 yards of reception last year. So big play targets with all those guys. But with Kelshawn Johnson in the fold, you got TK Norman also in the fold. You got a couple of pretty explosive, dynamic guys already there, and looking to add a couple more.
Jason, how are we feeling about Michael Fasusi?
Right now, I mean, cautiously optimistic. Texas, Oklahoma, Oregon is going to be in there. He has a lot of great relationships at Texas A&M. The communication continues to be there with A&M. Coach Cushing has done a tremendous job showing how he would develop at Texas A&M. So I think they're right there in the conversation at the very tip top level. He does plan to announce his decision August 21st. Right now, I'd probably lean toward Texas, but it's super close. He's planning to take an Oregon official visit in the fall, which kind of, I know Oklahoma's got some thoughts on their committed prospects taking visits. So we'll see if Oklahoma, how big of a player Oklahoma is, and how strong that policy is if he actually committed to them and decided to still take that visit. So there's a lot of moving pieces there, and he's a guy that I'm going to be watching throughout the season, regardless of what happens on the 21st.
All right, let's talk a little Jonah Williams because he's become a hot prospect on the baseball side, the football side. Texas wants him, A&M wants him, everybody wants him.
Yeah, and LSU's making a big push. He's going to be in Baton Rouge this weekend. And I know baseball and football are both going hard after him for the Tigers. But that's the same way at A&M. A&M football and baseball are both getting after him. And Texas is kind of coming on a bit as well. Oregon's very much in the mix. Right now, LSU seems to have the momentum, but we've seen this recruitment go back and forth a few times with different teams taking the lead. Recently, you had Oregon and A&M, and it looked like LSU was kind of playing for fourth. But hey, we'll see how it all works out as these shifts continue to change, and he continues to evaluate his options.
And DJ Sanders?
Still hearing very good things about where the Aggies are sitting. This is a brawny guy. And he doesn't really say a whole lot, but we're getting a lot of positive intel from that area, and it sounds like Texas A&M. We've said it before; they're kind of in an enviable position, I feel good about their chances. Texas is going hard after them. Michigan is in the mix. I think I even heard some talk about Oregon recently as well. So, but yeah, Texas A&M. I like where they're situated in that from what I'm hearing.
Talking to Jason Howell here on TexAgs Radio. Jason, let's wrap up with just some timelines. Pool party coming up, some commitments coming up. So what do you think the next, month looks like for A&M recruiting?
Well, we're going to see some of these questions answered. I think I talked a little bit about that at the beginning of July, into June, about seeing what the board is going to look like, and you've got Prevo coming up July 30th in the 26th class, a receiver there. You got McNutt August 3rd, who's key prospect. That the Aggies are firmly in the mix. Khalil Lockett will make his decision August 7th between Texas A&M, Texas, LSU, Florida State, and Alabama. Fasusi on the 21st. Michael Terry's expected to make an announcement late July, so any day now or in August. And I think you'll see most of these guys on the board make a decision one way or the other before the fall, just to kind of get their spot, give their mind a little rest and put themselves at ease a little bit going into their fall season. And, you'll see where you need to continue to recruit and where you need to find targets and, things like that. So you'll see it. You'll get some answers on where you look at as far as need positions and what it looks like. But there's not a whole lot of questions left. You want an offensive tackle. You want another D lineman, especially a guy like a DJ Sanders. So I think you got most of your needs solidified there. A couple, maybe one or two more receivers. So you've got most of your needs solidified going into the next month, but you still got some pretty key important targets out there that you're watching.
When do you get to town?
I'll be in town Friday, ready to hit the ground, cover some pool party, and then we got the big banquet.
You got it, man.
Coming up on Saturday.
I appreciate you, brother. Have a great one.
Always, you too.
Jason Howell, there on the Boss Firearms Hotline. We'll hit a break. We'll come back with Phil Steele. Felipe. He likes to go by Felipe. Right now, Hush and Whisper. It's time to reserve a space for all your holiday parties. Whatever holiday that you want to celebrate, contact Hush and Whisper to submit a request on events page at hushandwhisper.com. Last year, they hosted parties for groups of 20 to 150 guests. Very successful nights, and folks had a really nice time. It's an awesome venue. You should check it out. It's the place to go in downtown Bryan at the Verisco building. It is cool. It is the place to kind of just learn about whiskey, learn about gin, vodka, you name it. They're founded to defy convention and distill true grain-to-glass spirits. So they make their original white whiskey. They're 70% corn, 16% wheat, 14% malted barley. They've got the original vodka, the original gin, and they source only the finest local ingredients in town. And they are curated for authenticity, distilled with a purpose there. And they're a place that you can enjoy a cocktail crafted with a premium local spirits. But more than that, they want to inspire moments of discovery. You can learn about the Kentucky Chew when you go there. Reserve a tour and a tasting, or just a tasting. You can book an event. They got great meetings, celebrations, and team building opportunities there. You can buy a bottle there or experience it at home. It is hushandwhisper.com. Their hours are Thursday and Friday, 2 p.m. to 11 p.m., and on Saturdays, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. Again, 219 North Main Street, there in the Verisco building in downtown Bryan. It is hushandwhisper.com, hushandwhisper.com. It is our yearly check-in with Phil Steele here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's go to the Boss Firearms Hotline. We are joined by the Phil Steele from philsteele.com. Phil, good morning, sir. How are you?
I am doing great, David. How about yourself today?
Doing wonderful. Thanks so much for joining us. Let's talk about where everybody can get the magazine.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Now, this year, unlike past years, you can only get it at Barnes & Noble and Books A Million. Those are the two brick-and-mortar stores it's available at. So once again, don't waste your gas driving around looking for it. It's at Barnes & Noble and Books A Million, or you could go online at philsteele.com. And when you go to philsteele.com, you can order the hard copy there. And if you order the hard copy, we give you the digital magazine for free. So Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, or philsteele.com.
Well, let's start things off with A&M, because I know that you had a conversation not too long ago with Mike Elko, and you learned a lot about where they're going. Just talk to me a little bit about what you learned about Mike and just the direction of the program.
Well, first of all, great respect for what Coach Elko did at Duke. Two amazing seasons that far surpassed my expectations both years, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I think out of the entire conversation I had with Coach Elko, the thing that stood out to me was he said this had the chance to be the best defense he has coached. And I'm like, has coached, not just at Duke, but overall. And remember, back in 2021, they only allowed 15.9 points per game here at Texas A&M. It's a dominant defensive front coming in. The offensive line will be improved. If they keep Connor Wegman healthy, the quarterback is probably the key for them to operate the highest levels. They've got four really good running backs that they have. And the biggest question mark on offense might be the wide receivers, but they have the talent there. So if they can come along, that'll help out Wegman. But an improved offensive line, better running backs, and the defense, look out.
Well, he told you, and I read this morning as I was getting ready for it, that they're not going to be one of the top offensive lines in the SEC, but one of the most improved. That is such a key part of the issues the last 3 years. If they can have, I don't know, better than middle-of-the-road offensive line, what kind of future does Connor Wegman have with that kind of support?
I think it's huge. And, he did mention that the offensive line was a weakness last year, and as you just touched on, told me that they would not be the best, but middle of the road, and that it would be a big step up. And you go back to last year, I thought there were games where sort of running for his life. I know they only allowed 30 sacks, but, we went through, 4 or 5 quarterbacks last year, it seemed at times, and it was trouble. So I think having the improved offensive line is really going to help the offense overall and help keep Connor Wegman healthy.
Phil, how do you see Nick Scorton his game translating to the SEC?
He was dominant in the Big Ten. The Big Ten and the SEC are very close. I think those are the two elite conferences in college football, so he's played against a lot of the big boys. And keep in mind, he was basically the star of that Purdue defense last year. He didn't have the surrounding talent that he's got here at Texas A&M. So I would imagine that last year with Purdue, if you're game planning for Purdue, you're trying to figure out how to stop Scorton. And now you can't do that with this defensive line because there's just so many guys that can cause havoc.
Yeah, we're talking to Phil Steele here on TexAgs Radio. Let's talk a little bit about the linebacker corps, because Torian York was huge for A&M last year. They bring in a couple guys. Solomon DeShields is a guy they picked up from Pitt. Just when you look at this group, this linebacker group, not having Edge Cooper hurts, but they've done a nice job adding to it.
Yeah, they did. And I do like the pickups because, Coach Elko thought that the biggest question mark he had was at the weak side linebacker spot. Bringing in the DeShields from Pitt, I think, was a big-time addition. I had him fourth-team ACC last year. Bringing in a Scooby Williams coming in from Florida, another big-time addition, very productive player. And, of course, having Torian York back is huge, a captain on the team. And so I'm not calling the linebacker unit elite, but I do think they will be very solid this year.
Where do you see Notre Dame? Because I look at their schedule, I look at their talent, and I think they're a team that's destined for the playoffs. And, A&M might be one of their biggest matchups of the year.
Yeah, in fact, it's the only game of the year that I do not have Notre Dame favored. I've got the game of toss-up because it's in College Station. It's early in the year. I do think Notre Dame makes the playoff this year. They've got Riley Leonard at quarterback. who, of course, Coach Elko is very familiar with his strengths and weaknesses, having been his quarterback the last 2 years. They're solid on the defense across the board, and Freeman knows defense. They've got my number 6 set of defensive backs, number 11 defensive line. They're solid on special teams. I rate them number 16 there. They had in a Mitch Jeter at kicker from South Carolina. I really like that addition. And then offensively, strong in all 4 units. So this is a very talented Notre Dame team, one that I do think makes the playoff. But the only game I don't have them favored in this year, and they play the number 57 schedule, is the opening game in College Station.
Let's talk about another team A&M plays early on that it's easy to discount Florida because of their schedule. But when A&M plays them in week 3, it could be a very worrisome game. How do you see Florida, at least from a talent perspective?
Florida's going to surprise some folks this year. And going over the team with Coach Napier, and he's very confident in them. Says, they do have the toughest schedule in the country, but he feels at the end of the season you're going to look at it and say, oh, okay, that wasn't as tough. And this game's in the Swamp. Florida's a tough team in the Swamp. Remember last year they beat Tennessee, number 11 in the country, in the Swamp, and had a lot of good games. The Florida State game, they took the Gators to the wire, or the Seminoles to the wire. They've got Graham Mertz at quarterback, and they add in DJ Lagway behind them. Lagway's a physically gifted quarterback that's a true freshman, gives him a different advantage at the quarterback spot. Montrell Johnson at running back is there, and the defense is going to be much improved over last year. So that's a dangerous game for Texas A&M.
I look at Missouri's schedule, and I'm like, they should stumble into the playoffs. They get A&M there mid-season. Just your thoughts on Missouri this year?
I actually have A&M favored in that game against Missouri. Missouri, you look at them offensively, they are very solid this year. They've got their quarterback back. And remember last year they entered the season, Brady Cook was battling for the starting job, won it in the opener, and then had a really good year. They lose their star running back in Cody Schrader, but bring in a couple of 1,000-yard guys in Nate Noel and Marcus Carroll. They've got one of the best receiving rooms in the country and a veteran offensive line. But they lose their defensive coordinator. They lose 5 NFL draft picks off that defense, and they've got 43 new players on this year's squad. So defense would be a bit of a question mark. I've got A&M a 6-point favorite in that game when Missouri travels there.
I have another team that I expect good things from because the program that they are, but yet I don't know what to think of LSU because of their defense. And also, the offense should be really good, but it's not going to be last year level of really good.
Yeah, you hit it on the head there. First of all, you got to figure LSU's defense is going to be improved, right? I mean, they gave up 417 yards per game last year, 28 points per game, and they've got just too much talent on that side of the ball. And partial of what is it, the offense scored so doggone quick, put them on the field for a lot of plays. But the last time they had a Heisman Trophy quarterback, Joe Burrow, was back in 2019. They averaged 48 points per game. They dropped all the way down to 32 points per game the next year, 16 points per game less. Now, I'm not looking for that big of a drop-off, but I see a drop from 45, maybe by a touchdown, maybe by 10 points this year. They'll be less potent offensively, better defensively, a completely different-looking LSU team. In fact, if you look at the run game, last year Jaden Daniels was their leading rusher, and their running backs only had 280 carries last year. I think this year the running backs get another 100 carries, like 380 carries this year. So a more running back run offense, lower scoring, defense stronger, and they play a lot of games which I rate in the toss-up category this year. I don't really know what to expect from LSU. Yes, I could paint them in as a possible SEC contender. I could also paint them in as an 8 or 9 win team this year.
Let me ask you about Michigan. They look completely different, obviously. Different head coach, different quarterback, offensive line's completely different. The defense should be salty. How do you see them going this year, and what are your thoughts of Texas going there early in the season?
As far as Michigan goes, defensively, I think they have one of the top defenses in the entire country. I rate them number 5. Offensively, good at running back, good at receiver, but you touched on it. Offensive line, all 5 starters gone. And quarterback, I don't care who wins the job, Alex Orji, Davis Warren, Jack Tuttle. You're not looking at elite quarterback play, and you're looking at inexperience and question marks at quarterback. Can Orji throw? Jack Tuttle's a game manager. Davis Warren, we'll see how his game translates. If you have question marks at quarterback and offensive line, generally you're going to struggle. But I've got Michigan losing to Texas. I've got Texas a 7-point favorite in that game. I've got them losing at Ohio State. I think the key as to whether or not they can get back to the playoff would be how quickly the offensive line emerges, the quarterback position, and then the Oregon game on November the 2nd. And I've got that run rated as a toss-up. If they can beat Oregon, I think they have a shot at getting back to the playoff. A 10-win Big Ten team's going to get there. But with that, even though they have one of the best defenses in the country, I'm definitely calling for a step back for Michigan.
And how about Ohio State? Do you see them? They have all the talent. They have a down Michigan team this year. They do have Oregon in the Big Ten. Is Ohio State, do they have a path? Do you see them, as the favorite to get to the championship?
Yeah, I've got them number 2 in the country coming in. I think they do get there. They could lose at Oregon. In fact, here's the interesting thing, David. We may see a couple of times this year, maybe teams meeting 3 times. Maybe Texas and Georgia. I could see a meeting in the regular season, the SEC title, and the playoffs. Same thing with Ohio State and Oregon. Really high on Oregon this year. But the thing you like about Ohio State is that because they've lost to Michigan 3 straight years, they didn't lose their normal 11 draft picks. They only lost 4. A lot of the guys said, I'm not leaving here without beating Michigan. I'm coming back for another year. And you look at them defensive line, they got Sawyer, Hamilton, Tuamola back. In the secondary, they get Burke back. So a lot of guys who could have left for the NFL returned. Then they brought in some great transfers like Caleb Downs from Alabama, Will Howard from Kansas State, Quinshon Judkins from Ole Miss at running back. So they really are a very talented team. It wouldn't surprise me if they lost in Autzen Stadium to Oregon, but I think in the long run they win the Big Ten, and it's beat Michigan and advance in the playoffs or bust for Ryan Day, I think.
What is the best case, worst case for Ole Miss this year?
I think Ole Miss can make the playoff. There's no doubt about it. In fact, they're going to open up the season strong. They'll be 6-0 when they travel to face LSU. They've got a ton of talent on offense with Jackson Dart, a deep running back core, some dangerous receivers, veteran offensive line, and the key is going to be defensively. Defensively, they brought in a lot of big-time transfers. Walter Nolan up front on the nose tackle spot, a massive upgrade. And then they bring in the Florida transfer at the jack linebacker position. So I think when you look at Ole Miss, this is by far Lane Kiffin's best team. They're number 13 on my experience chart, and they brought in transfers. The key is going to be at LSU, Georgia at home, at Florida, and then maybe the Oklahoma game at home. How they fare in those will determine whether or not they make the playoff this year.
Phil, let's close out with Alabama, a team that I know they get love still, but it certainly feels like a different level of love now with Kalen DeBoer as the head coach.
Yeah, and I got to be honest with you. When Nick Saban stepped down, a whole bunch of players hit the portal. I was like, oh, maybe it's a rebuilding year for Alabama. But after going over the team with Coach DeBoer, this is a guy that's 104-12 as a head coach. And I went over the Washington team with him in depth last year. I went over this year's Alabama team with him in depth. And while they lost some players to the portal, he went and brought in some key players like Damani Jackson at cornerback from USC, Keon Saab from Michigan at safety. They bring in the Lou Groza Award winner, Graham Nicholson at kicker. Barker Brailsford comes in at center from his Joe Moore winning offensive line that he had at Washington last year. I think that cures the snap problems. They've got Jalen Milroe back. And after finishing up the conversation, I actually feel he's got more talent with Alabama this year than he had at Washington last year, and he got Washington in the national title game. So I'm not discounting his chances of Alabama contending for the SEC title or a national title this year.
Phil, great stuff as always, my friend. Thanks so much. PhilSteele.com is the website. And again, you can pick up the magazine only 2 places, and those are, again?
Barnes & Noble and Books A Million.
Phil, appreciate you, sir. Talk to you soon.
Hey, a lot of fun. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you very much. Phil Steele here on TexAgs Radio. All right, we'll hit a break here. We'll come back with one final segment, get some final thoughts on there, and just break it all down. I don't know. It's TexAgs Radio. Time to end the day with Double Days. Caller number 12, 979-693-1150. We'll hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Days, serving Aggieland since 1984. They've got pizza. They got world-famous pepperoni rolls, reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on doubledays.com and your favorites are on their way. So I want to read this tweet from Peter Burns. Top 10 fast food restaurants must have drive-through, okay? And I'm going to go through this list with Nick and Callie, but I'm going to ask which one of you have had one of these places in 2024. And I'll play the game too. And yes, I've had some of these, okay?
Let's do it.
Ready? Raising Cane's, no.
Yes.
Yes.
Earlier this week, I think.
I'm a Lane's guy. Sonic, no.
Yes.
Chick-fil-A.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Panda Express, yes.
Yes, dude, I love Panda.
I love Panda.
What Burger?
Yes.
Yes.
No, come on now. Popeyes?
No.
No.
No. Arby's? No.
No.
Yes, I love Arby's, dude. I know I'm in the minority in that. I get roasted every time I bring it up, but I love Arby's.
Burger King? No.
No,
Negative.
that one's a hard no.
Jack in the Box?
No.
No.
Mickey D's?
Yes.
No.
Starbucks? Yes.
No.
Yes.
That was on here. So,
I don't like coffee.
were you guys?
We've been over this.
I
You don't
know.
have
It
to-
just
it's
always
okay.
stops
It's
me in
okay.
my tracks. Were you surprised that I said yes to two of them?
Which ones were they? Starbucks and
No. Oh, I said three if you count. I've done Chick-fil-A in 2024.
Yes.
And I've
okay.
done Panda Express in 2024.
Yeah, good. A lot of protein there.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Can't go wrong with chicken and rice.
Can't go wrong. And if you get the sauce on the side, really hit those macronutrients the right way.
Okay.
You know, I just put it all on there.
Hey, I've bragged about it. Nick, you were there. I ate a lot of food in the Metroplex, did I not?
You did, yeah. It was
I
good
threw
food.
down chips, bro.
Yeah. Chips and queso.
Chips and
Probably
queso.
could survive off that.
It's pretty good. All right, that's going to do it for TexAgs Radio here on a Wednesday. Tomorrow on the program, I know we'll have Aaron Torres. I know he'll give me the business for not having him on during SEC Media Days, whatever. I love you, Aaron. You're cool. And other than that, I think Esteban McGee. We'll see what else we get into. Thanks so much for watching and listening. We'll see you mañana.